go ahead and swear in our witness today. Madam DA, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a statement I'd like
So
to
we're watching
include
Fani
as well.
Willis
Sure, if you wanna pass that
testify
around to us, we'd
before
be
the
happy to
Senate
make that as
committee.
part of the record.
I really like to
I'm
get into
doing
these
that
kinds of
because
things
I
that you guys know,
prohibited
because
from
it does
giving
show me the person's
Yes, so
character
again, this
early
is very
on.
analogous. I'm gonna-
Just
it's been a while
and
since
that's
been in
really
the
what I
state, so
want to
I've
watch
been
is her
his career
character
since then.
early
Great
on.
testimony.
So let's go. Watch her body language. I love the way her shoulders sort of
generally not opening
slump down.
statements in Senate committee testimony,
I've
and
never
that was.
known an investigative committee that did not allow.
Welcome,
oversight.
welcome.
We will proceed with the testimony, and if either one of you and Madam DA, is that the preferred title? Is how you'd like to us refer to you?
Either District Attorney Willis or Madam DA.
Perfect. We'll go with either one of those. Thank you for being here today. Please do pull that microphone closer or lean forward when you speak. I'll try to get the volume adjusted so that everyone can hear it.
I doubt anyone will have trouble hearing me.
Fair enough. Just love if you could take a minute, walk us through your career history. I know that you have a 30-year legal history. If you could just tell the committee your path to becoming the district attorney in Fulton County.
Well, I went to the best university in the nation, Howard University, matriculated through there in 3.5 years and graduated December of 92, although I walked in May of 1993. I then came down to Georgia because I was admitted to one of the top 25 law schools in the country, Emory University School of Law. While at Emory University School of Law, for the first time in Emory's history, I won the Frederick Douglass Moot Court Competition, which is a national competition put on by the Black Law Students Association, successfully matriculated through, took the Georgia bar because the Olympics was that year. That was the last year that you could take the bar while still in law school. So during my last semester of law school, I took the bar and passed on the first try. Then became a lawyer. I worked for a small law firm with Alvin Kendall. Alvin Kendall has a great knack for picking talent because at that law firm at the time was myself and the former mayor of Atlanta, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who will be a great candidate for governor of this state and is now running for office. Also, Teresa Mann, who is a judge.
She could finish destroying the rest of Georgia or Atlanta.
We
Keisha
represented
could.
people in
Keisha.
both criminal and civil cases. I worked there for a small time. I then left that law firm and opened up my own law practice where I practiced both juvenile law, criminal law, did some family stuff, young practitioner. I did that out of Douglas County, Georgia, but I represented people in the entire metro area during that time. Got married, had 2 children, became a solicitor, needed a kind of a more calm life. So I went to work for Raines Carter, who's been the longest standing solicitor, I think, in the country at this point. Worked for him for some time, applied to become a district attorney, worked there approximately 16 years, tried every type of case you can imagine, but I was really a murder prosecutor. That's what I do best. But also at that time, tried the longest case in Georgia's history, which is the Atlanta Public Schools case, a RICO case. That's how I became acquainted with John Floyd, because he taught me RICO inside and out, and taught me how you can use that to bring criminals to justice, which I've done throughout my career successfully. Worked there, then decided to leave to run for office, ran for judge, came up 49%, I believe is the percentage of the vote that I won. Actually went to a Republican strategist. He told me, because I went to a runoff, Republicans will not vote for you. And I said, why? I've had a history of representing this state. I've done so successfully. I'm known as a prosecutor. He said, you're Black and female. I said, I don't believe that to be true. I don't think that's the state of the nation. Who knew? He was right and I was wrong. I lost that election, but that was God's plan, because after that, I had the honor of representing the Judicial Qualifications Commission. I'm one of the only Black lawyers to ever be able to do that in the state of Georgia, where I prosecuted judges who had done something wrong. And so that was a great honor of mine. Richard Hyde was one of the people that helped me to get that position because he had worked with me on Atlanta Public Schools. I think that he's still doing that kind of work.
Hey, Tonette.
He's a very great investigator. So I did that for a while. I also got to represent a lot of fathers and mothers as they went through domestic things, did some criminal defense work. And then people started coming to me. You need to run for district attorney. Current district attorney has some problems. You'd be outstanding at it. And who knew? I ran, I won. I'm the first woman to serve as district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia. Best to ever do it. I sit here with a 92% conviction rate.
This woman is so into herself. I just can't. I can't contain myself. She is so full of herself. But let's go on.
That's my history.
Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you
it's
so
a piece
much.
of it anyway.
For those of us on the committee, it'd be helpful to kind of get a scope of what your office structure is like and kind of the makeup of your office. So how many employees are within the Fulton County's DA's office?
A little over 300 approximately. All numbers that I give today, which should be approximations, you should not hold me to exacts.
Certainly will do so on these questions for sure. Of those employees, about how many of those are attorneys?
Half,
About 150 attorneys. How many investigators?
65.
Okay. And how many paralegals?
I don't know, about another 70 or so professionals. Some of that is VWAP, some of that is administrators, some of that is legal assistants. I'm not going to be able to guess at these numbers.
Sure. The state pays a minimum salary for all district attorneys and assistant DAs. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Can you walk us through the pay structure?
The state pays for my office about 25 ADAs. They're woefully underpaid. The salary that the state paid is a joke right now. If you want to look at some legislation, you should look at paying DAs across this country more money because they do not make
Answer
enough
the
money, and
question.
It's very hard for people to recruit DAs at the state pay. So for those 20 or so some lawyers that work at state pay, I do one of two things as incentives. The first thing I do is the ones that work in-house, I give them supplements that the county pays because the pay is so low and really just an embarrassment to think that we pay public servants at that rate. Another incentive I offer to some other very seasoned ADAs that are further along in their career that are my state paid employees, I let them work 95% remotely, and all they do is indict cases for my office. The rest of the lawyers paid by the Fulton County.
Does anybody else think that she should have just answered the question? Is it just me? Or are we expecting her to just filibuster, just answer the question? I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
County District Attorney's Office are in fact paid by the county, but you should note here that I am a state employee. I am not a county employee. I represent the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. The Fulton County DA is really slang.
Great. So give me a range then of those ADAs, including the supplement. What's the salary range of
Probably
those
the
ADAs?
lowest salary of any DA that works for me is 85, and the highest might be around 200. Again, don't hold me to exacts.
Sure. Okay. You were elected in 2020. We talked about that. You had a transition process in between the election and when you were sworn in. Can you walk us through what that process looked like?
It was not a very good one. Myself and the former district attorney never had a conversation. We still have never had a conversation. But while I was still on my personal time, not yet being paid by the state of Georgia, I interviewed every attorney and investigator of the office and some of the other staff because I wanted to decide who I was going to keep and who I was not going to keep. So I did that during that time period. I also had some committee members where I got some advice on things that needed to be priorities for the office as I took office. So I got very esteemed members of the Fulton County and the greater community to kind of advise me. I believe in diversity, so it was a diverse group. If you do studies on diversity, although some of you are against it, you will realize that the companies that do the best employ diversity. And so I employed diversity in that committee, and I've employed diversity in my staff because I represent a diverse community.
Did he ask her anything about diversity? And that's the point that I'm trying to make. This lady is so amazing. She doesn't even realize when she's rambling. It's like, I'm just going to say a whole bunch of word salad, stick it together, shake it up really good, and one of those nice Scrabble cups, throw it out there and see what happens. She's so delusional.
Who was a part of that committee?
I don't remember all the names, and I'm not going to guess at it.
What names do you remember?
Oh, my goodness. Lee Dupree's husband, William Dupree, was on that committee. There was another anchor, and I'm embarrassed to say that was an African-American female. I'm not sure. I want to say Mayor Franklin may have been on the committee, but I can't remember exactly. There were about 15 to 20 people. That's been some time ago now.
The interviews that you referenced with the existing staff as you were kind of determining whether they would stay, who participated in those interviews with you?
It would be different people each day. Attorney Gabe Banks was one of the attorneys that did some of the interviews. He wasn't able to do all, of course, because he had an active and thriving law practice at the time. Jeff DeSantis did some of the interviews with me. Daisha Young did some of the interviews with me. People would come in and out based on their schedules. My deputy of operations now, Dexter Bond, did some of those interviews with me. Mr. Nathan Wade had a thriving practice at the time as well. He would come in and out and do some of the interviews. I was at every interview, but other people could only commit, so much of their time. They each did as much as they could. And that should not be the total list. That's what I can recall quickly right offhand. So don't take that as that was every person. I may have missed somebody that assisted me in that, and they'll have to blame it on my head, not my heart.
Okay. Who was a part of the team that made the decisions on who you would keep and who you would go? What was the consultation process after the interview? And how many approximately, if I can ask you this question a second time, if you want to answer the first one, but I'm trying to get to how many people did you retain from the former DA's team, and then how many people were brought in that were new?
I don't remember. I might have fired 50 or 60 people, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
It's the AJC did an article on she fired people, to which I told Fulton County I was going to only bring the best and the brightest. So I was always confused as to why that was a surprise.
Was there a lead on your transition team?
I was the lead. I was the DA.
Okay. Was there another person that you consulted with more than the others?
No.
I believe Mr. Wade said under testimony that he was a part of over 90% of these meetings or decisions. Do you recall that being an approximate accurate statement as to his involvement?
I can't speak to any other person's testimony, so I'm not going to ever comment on someone's testimony. If he testified to such, you're going to need to show it to me. You'll have to forgive me. I don't really trust you. So I'll have to see that particular testimony.
Do you recall Mr. Wade being?
Wait just a minute. She's got a right to finish her answer. You don't have a right to cut her off.
That's incorrect, Governor. Thank you.
Sir. It is
I'll be completing answers, so sorry.
What kind of ghetto rebel rousing are we into? Let me go get my coffee. I hope everybody else does the same. It looks like we got us a good one today. And yeah, she's really, really, really hood. And the old guy that she's got sitting next to her, he's hood too. My Lord.
So
Sure.
we should get that straight from the
Was Mr.
We gonna get it straight, because I'm here to tell you, yes, I is gonna finish my sentence. Lord have mercy.
Wade part of, would you say, more than half of the interviews that you conducted?
Yes.
Would you say it was more than 75% of the
I'm
interviews
not
you
going to guess
conducted?
at numbers. He was definitely more than half.
And what percentage of decisions, was the same percentage of decisions that he was a part of?
I ultimately made every decision. I take wise counsel from a group of people. So I took wise counsel from him. I took wise counsel from Deputy Bond. Ultimately, I made the decision on who stayed and who went.
Was Mr. Wade paid for this transition work?
None of them were paid. It was all volunteer work. It was wanting to make sure that the region was safe. So people volunteered their time to make sure that we had the best and the brightest representing Fulton County, and that this community stayed safe. And every person who did it for free.
Thank you. Part of one of the things you did when you came into office was you formed this new anti-corruption unit. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Can you walk us through the decision process to stand that unit up, if that replaced any other units, and who was a part of that unit once it was stood up?
And I'm actually not sure we called it the anti-corruption unit when we first took over. So when I became the district attorney, Paul Howard had 101 police brutality cases, many that went back to years, maybe to 2009. People in the community were very upset. It was both unfair to the law enforcement officers and to the community that decisions were not made. And so I knew that one of the things that I was going to have to do was to make sure that every case got looked at and was evaluated. And so I was looking for attorneys to do that. I'm not sure if that's what we called it at first, because I think we called it the Civil Rights Unit. In fact, when we first opened it, I think it was the Civil Rights Unit. At some point, I go to visit other huge district attorneys' offices that have kind of the same kind of struggles that I have as a major metro area, I went to visit the Houston District Attorney's Office at that time. And in that office, they had divided cases. And I thought it was a brilliant way to do business. And so I think that's the point that I then formed a civil rights unit, which would only deal with police brutality, and an anti-corruption unit. So I think when we first started that it was called the Civil Rights Unit.
Okay, how many people were part of that unit once you got it fully operational?
Well, it depends. You know, the county is, in my opinion, stolen people from me, so we can't do the job as effectively as needs to be done. I've had as many as, it varies. It has varied because we had an anti-corruption unit and a civil rights unit. So it's varied.
Can you give us a range?
It really depends on who you're calling the anti-corruption unit. I've probably not had more than 2 lawyers in that unit, maybe 3 at any given time, an investigator or 2, and a legal assistant. They may have been doing double duty somewhere else.
And you entered into a contract with Chris Campbell to do some taint work as a part of that unit. Is that correct?
That would be the civil rights unit.
It sounds like they were somewhat interchangeable from what you just said. You said that it was called the
No,
Civil Rights Unit when it
because
started.
The civil rights unit may have encompassed everything at first, and then it ultimately becomes police brutality cases. And so what Mr. Campbell was, when the police take a statement, if I know you're not an attorney, but there's an issue called garrity. And what happens is government employees, mostly we're talking about law enforcement officers, they will make a statement to the police, but that statement won't be Mirandized. There's all kinds of legal rules around it. I can't be privy to those statements. I shouldn't have them. Sometimes I think the police almost put them in there intentionally. And so they'll be intertwined in statements and reports. And so what he was hired to do is to redact. So once that I got a file from the GBI when somebody had been shot by an officer, I never read that. That way we were never tainted. That's why we use that word, by never seeing that. And so, yes, he was hired. He had been, I believe my recollection is he had been a former law enforcement officer, and he was a lawyer. I thought he was great for that work.
And Terrence Bradley was involved in that work.
He had been a former
well,
probation officer and an attorney. That's one of the reasons that I thought that they would do outstanding at it, because they had long histories in the law enforcement community and lawyers.
Was Mr. Wade?
I have lawyers now currently doing that work.
Was Mr. Wade involved with the taint work?
No.
Mr. Wade, Bradley, and Campbell were law partners. Is that correct at the time?
Loosely is what I understand. I can't tell you about the design of, I can't tell you the design of his firm. I think more so what happened is they shared office space and cost or something, but I don't know. I shouldn't speak to that or speculate to it.
Did you place anyone in charge of the anti-corruption unit, or did everyone that worked for there report directly to you?
I mean, ultimately everyone reports directly to me, but the anti-corruption unit, so when it was a civil rights unit, yes, it had a lawyer that was over it. His name is Brian Watkins. He is a lawyer that's been practicing law longer than I. And at first he had everything until we realized there was so much volume of work. Because it doesn't just do this kind of work. It's not just police brutality now, right? Now it's, police lied, or it's an elected official did something wrong, and it just became too much. Once we stood up these units and my county understood we were doing these kind of things, fortunately or unfortunately, the office started to get referrals, and so it just grew.
How many cases has this unit brought to trial approximately?
Oh, I couldn't tell you over the years, but we brought some to trial, especially these police brutality cases. I couldn't tell you exactly, so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay.
It's not as many as like my major crimes unit, but I can tell you that the anti-corruption and the civil rights unit, they cost me the most money because of the experts that are needed when you are trying a police case.
How much money would you estimate that you spend a year on that unit?
I can't, and I'm not.
You can't, you're not what, I'm sorry?
I'm not going to speculate to it. I can't estimate how much.
Okay. Is that something you could provide for the committee?
I don't know that I can. What happens is I have a professional services budget, and my top deputies of certain units, so my ED over major crimes. If he needs an expert, he can hire one. For instance, if you all want to look into legislation, look into properly funding your GBI. The GBI does not have enough scientific experts. This is not a criticism of the GBI. The scientists that are there are excellent. I want that to be noted that I said that. The scientists that are there are excellent, but they do not have enough experts. So in year one, when I become the DA, they tell me, and I have an email that proves it, we can't test all your ballistics evidence. We don't have enough. So I have to go into my budget, more than $100,000, I can tell you that. I think it's been about that annually, and hire private scientists to do that ballistics work. Now, I got the names of those scientists from the GBI, but also my deputy, Mr. Watkins, over civil rights. If he needs an expert, he knows that he can get one. If my ED over major crimes needs an expert, they can get one. My domestic violence expert, if they need a domestic violence expert, they can get one. And so it all comes out of this professional services budget that I both pay attorneys that come in and work as special prosecutors, and that I pay professional witnesses that we have to hire to do our work.
So Mr. Watkins was in charge by title, or was it more so by function that he was in charge of the unit?
I don't understand your question.
Did he have a title of director of the anti-corruption unit, or was he just a person that everyone knew would make the calls within the unit?
He was the deputy of the civil rights unit.
Okay.
He remains the deputy of the civil rights unit. At some point, the civil rights unit became civil rights and anti-corruption.
Do you use those terms interchangeably now?
I do not use them interchangeably. I have one deputy over anti-corruption and one deputy over civil rights.
Who's the current deputy over anti-corruption?
Tanya Boykin.
Who was the first one?
Sonia Allen. She is now the district attorney of Cobb County. She had a great DA from Fulton endorse her, and she won.
What was Mr. Wade's role in the anti-corruption unit?
He didn't have a role in the anti-corruption unit.
The election interference case, what unit did it fall under?
I called it the election team.
Okay. When Mr. Wade was he hired solely to focus on to work on the selection team, or did he do other work within your office?
I don't remember. I think there were times where I'd bring in some of my senior personnel and ask them, what's your thought on this case or these facts? I always involve wise counsel. I'm sure he was in some of those meetings.
Would you classify Mr. Wade as senior personnel as being part of your team?
Would I classify him as senior? So he was a special prosecutor. He never worked for me as an employee. What I would call him is a seasoned lawyer, 25 years, first African-American lawyer to ever serve Cobb County as a municipal court judge. What I would call him is a lawyer with a distinguished resume.
Okay. When did you begin to consider whether to bring charges in response to the 2020 presidential election in Georgia?
Don't answer that. That's a deliberative privilege. Don't answer that. I instruct you not to answer.
Is it true that part of your transition team was involved in the process of interviewing people before you entered office to lead the investigation into the 2020 presidential election?
I'd like to answer that.
Go right ahead. You only take my advice sometimes anyway. Go ahead.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge. If you recall the facts, I was already district attorney when this all came to light. So it's factually impossible.
You were district attorney when what came to light?
When Raffensperger went on Good Morning America or whatever show he went on. I was already district attorney. So what you ask is a factual impossibility. Now, I know they've gotten Black folks confused and said I was running for office, saying I was going to prosecute the president of the United States, but that's what we call a lie.
Okay. I would like
Take your
to.
advice from here on out, okay?
Yeah.
If you take a look at the screen for me, if you will. This is from Mr. Wade's deposition to members of Jim Jordan's committee. And it was asked of the search committee. You said that began when DA Willis took office on January 1, 2021. Is that correct? Yes. And there was outreach to you to be part of the search committee prior to January 1, 2021. Absolutely. When did that start? Sometime after the election. but prior to her taking office. Okay, so between the election, you're referring to November 2020 election, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And so when you had conversations with individuals, you said on multiple occasions, you said no, and you turned down the position. Who were those conversations with? They were with the district attorney.
So I think you're confusing facts. We've already had a long conversation about, I interviewed everybody at the DA's office, and I interviewed other people to come and work at the district attorney's office. And as I told you, I did that on my free time before I became DA. But I had no way of knowing that these criminals were going to commit a crime. And that did not come to light until January of 2021, when I'm actually the DA. So it is a factual impossibility, like I already told you. I think that is misinterpreted. He's absolutely correct. We looked for talent for the district attorney's office before I became the DA. I didn't wait till the day I took office to look for talent that would represent my office. But I was unable to look for talent for a case that didn't exist before I took office. It's factually impossible. It's common sense. You don't need to be a lawyer.
I'm going to read you some additional testimony. I'll try to put it on the screen.
You can read me as much as you want, but
I will. Thank you, Madam DA.
My question is, why the attitude? Why don't you just go before the committee, answer the questions, say what you have to say without the attitude? It's amazing to me that somebody who has as much alleged intelligence and knowledge and education that she has, that she doesn't know how to conduct herself, letter A, like a professional, and most above all, like a lady. She just does not. She refuses. She's so, my goodness, ghetto much.
And I apologize. I did not intend to have to get into this here. What was when Mr. Wade says that there was an interview on line 13, as you'll see here, this is prior to you entering office. What were you interviewing him for?
I didn't interview him prior to him entering office. He had a thriving law practice. Even when he ends up being offered the position, he doesn't want it.
Okay, now so it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind and the process that goes.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not. But you asked.
Because I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him, because it occurred after she took office. But
I didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office.
She just said it's a dumb A question. This is a freaking circus. This is a freaking circus. Now you guys see why I be gone for so long. Well, yeah, a circus.
Actually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you. Would you agree with the statement? Actually, I'll skip that question. When did you decide to hire outside of your office a special assistant district attorney for this election case?
Oh, Lord. So when I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos. I have to take you back. Can you hear me?
It's a little, I was going to try to turn you up if you don't mind leaning forward.
When I became the district attorney of Fulton County, the office was in absolute chaos. And I mean every level of chaos. On the ground, the carpet was molded and there were holes in it, and it was disgusting, a disgusting environment. There were boxes in offices, some to where you couldn't open the door. I remember walking through the office before. I told you I fired 50 or 60, I don't know exactly how many employees that I felt were unqualified to do this work. That doesn't mean they were bad people, but they were unqualified for the positions that they held. There were 18,000, write that down, 18,000 unindicted cases that went back 6 or 7 years that I was looking at. Not to mention another, 10,000 indicted cases in the system. Now, some that the judges had hid on judicial hold, but they were still there. So the office was in absolute chaos. And then I'm in the office I came in that Saturday, so that would have been day one. That was the day that I walked through the office. And I'm literally in the office that Monday or Tuesday. I can't recall now what day it is. And there's this phone call, and the Secretary of State saying, oh, the proper venue to investigate this might be Fulton County. And so my priority became, and this is important too, there were 200 and something murders that had been sitting for years, families that had been waiting for justice for years. And so when I come to be the district attorney, my first responsibility is just getting the office properly set up. In fact, one of the most important roles I held up that I tried to find was the head of the civil rights lawyer. So when Brian Watkins walked into my office and actually interviewed to come there, because he was not with the old administration, that was like a gift from God, that I had a lawyer that had enough experience and would be talented enough and ethical enough and have the integrity to do this work. But my primary job was getting the entire office set up. So I immediately do things like set up a murder backlog project. I put Mike Carlson and Michael Sprinkle in charge of that. We're going to get every family's going to get an answer. They may not like the answer. The answer may be we can't prosecute this, but we're not going to sit with cases. We got to make decisions on these cases. And it took us years to get through that, but we did. And I'm happy to sit here and announce to you, every one of those 18,000 cases, a decision got made on, to include those 101 police cases I talked about, as well as the 46,100 and I think 36 cases that came in January 1st, 2021 till December 31st of 2024. So while people tell these lies about the DA ain't been working, I want you to find a DA working as hard as me.
My question was, when did you decide to hire outside counsel?
And so he has to take her back to center her. You notice that he always has to take her back to center, just to get her centered. Okay, let's finish listening. As if we really cared about any of the other stuff that she's sharing. None of us care about that. We care about the direct questions that he's asking.
For the election interference case.
When it became obvious that this case would take so much investigation to learn the truth, and that I would need people that could focus on that. And although I had talent in the office that was being developed, each and every member of my staff had a priority. See, this is the most important case to you. Let me tell you what the most important case was to me. When I walked in the office, there had been 2 Black children that had been killed, Sequoia Turner and Kennedy Maxwell. Those were the 2 most important cases to me as the DA. And I needed to make sure that those families got justice, but the cases didn't come with a bow on them. In fact, one of the cases was particularly not done properly. And so my priority became making sure I had the talent to make sure we got all of those cases done. If you're wondering, both those men are doing life right now for taking those children from us.
Certainly aware of the case and the autonomous zone and everything that happened back in that tragic time frame. So definitely appreciate those murderers being behind bars. So you didn't really give me a date range, but we'll just move on here. But you did consider Governor Barnes for this role. He's testified to that previously.
And let me tell you what Governor Barnes told me. Governor Barnes told me when he was the governor, he changed the state flag from the Confederate flag. And that as a result of him changing the Confederate flag to changing the flag to make it more inclusive to all Georgians, that the Ku Klux Klan sat outside his house and that he lived under threat during that time period. He told me that him and his beautiful wife had survived that, but that he was an older gentleman now. I'm going to say that nicely. He was an older gentleman, and due to the nuts that would come out of the woodwork if I was doing this type of work, that he was not at a juncture in his life where he could take those kind of security risks. He also refused to work for $250 an hour.
I can attest to that.
We've got some question in here, Governor, on your rates, and we'll get to that in a little bit. You did, Madam DA, you considered several attorneys for this case in addition to Mr. Barnes?
I did.
And ultimately, you selected Mr. Wade to oversee the anti-corruption unit. Is that correct?
He never oversaw the
I'm
anti-corruption
sorry,
unit.
my apologies, to oversee the elections interference case.
To manage, yes.
How would you delineate manage versus my choice of oversee?
They're the same.
Okay.
She just has to be right. She just has to be right.
What happened between January 2021, I believe that's when the phone call was that you referenced, in November 2021, which was the time that Mr. Wade signed his first contract? What type of work happened within any area of your office in terms of gathering evidence or considering whether or not to bring these charges?
You want me to answer? Not particularly. I don't think it's any of their business.
You're getting into why a grand jury returns a bill of indictment. That is a deliberative process wrapped in the discretion of the district attorney. We're not going to get, I'm going to instruct her not to answer. Wait a minute. You can, if you see fit, you can seek to enforce that question, at which time she would be entitled to a jury trial in Fulton County, and I would be able to cross-examine you with each one of you with a real judge ruling on real law. But until that happens, I'm going to instruct her not to.
So in your advice to counsel, you're asserting privilege.
I'm telling her not to answer.
I'm clarifying with the
You
witness.
don't have to answer that. I'm not a potted plant. I can answer.
You can advise. You can absolutely advise your client, Governor Barnes. I'm asking your
I
client.
suggest you move on.
I'm asking your client if you are asserting privilege on the answer to the question.
I made the objection on the record, and told you even what you can do to enforce it.
What was the total cost of the election interference case?
I don't recall, but if we want to talk about cost, I'd love to talk about how last year alone the AG paid one lawyer $8 million.
What does that have to do with this question?
You don't know the cost of the election interference case?
I don't know the exact cost.
What's the range?
I don't want to speculate to numbers. Whatever it cost, they tried to steal the rights of thousands of Georgians. It couldn't have been enough.
What was the rough total operating budget of your office last year?
I don't know that. It's probably around $40 million. That's a speculation. And
I'm a pause in here. I think what really bothers me is that she is so corrupt in a lot of ways. And it's not just dealing with the Trump case. There are several cases there in Georgia right now that were all sort of thrown up in the air based on her lack of professionalism and taking due diligence and taking responsibility, accountability for certain situations. There are several things that she's done in the short time that she's been there. So it's just so amazing that she sits here with this brazen attitude. Her and former governor here with her is just amazing. And that's the reason why he wouldn't take $250, because we've got a lawyer. He does $400 an hour. So of course Barnes is not going to take, $250 an hour. But for her to have him here, which is cool because that's her attorney, but for them to act as bullies, I think that is so unbelievable and just tacky. It's very tacky.
yes, that includes state money, grant money, and that's not an exact number. I don't do the budget. I have very high level conversations about that.
Okay. Can you give us a rough breakdown of that, the county budget and the state budget?
I cannot,
source
and I'm
of
not
funds?
going to guess for you.
Does the federal government give you any money?
I do have some grants, yes.
The only source of federal money you get is from grants?
To my knowledge, I don't. There may be something else. We may have some federal seizure money. If we do, it's not much. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate. If I say, oh, they gave me grant money and this federal seizure money, and you find some line item someplace that I don't know, you'll swear I was trying to lie to you when the truth is I don't know the correct answer.
I'm just trying to get to, I know you run a tight ship over there. You're proud of your work. I would assume that you would have
I'm the
some
best
sort
DA in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be proud of my work?
What's your annual budget?
I told you it's around $40 million, but I do not know an exact number.
And what's
This
the approximate
heifer-
source of funds?
This heifer is so, she has this grandeur type of personality. You know what I mean? Just like delusions of grandeur. I'm the best in the Southeast. Why wouldn't I be? That's not true. I'm sure if we did a lot of digging, we would find people who had never been brought up on corruption charges, that more than likely had never slept with somebody else's spouse while they were still married, and then hired that individual and then pay them allegedly the money that they're now talking about. They're talking about the corruption. Actually, it's the money that comes from the seizure. So when they go in and they seize money, that's the point that they're at now. So there are several people we could possibly find here in the Southeast that didn't do any of the above that would make them, just by virtue of abstaining from the aforementioned things that I talked about, just from staying away from that would have off rip made them better. So I beg to differ. But boy, she is really a pill, isn't she? She's a bitter pill.
You receive from the state versus the county?
Me, like every other district attorney in this state, do not receive enough funds. I told you that you all pay 20 to 25 ADAs. I don't know the exact number. I don't have it in front of me. You pay two legal assistants and one investigator.
Right, Tonette.
Fulton County is 1.2 million people. It's the place that when people come to Georgia, they're coming is to Atlanta. On a daily basis, we have 5 million people, and we are very improperly funded. If this committee wants to do some real work, it'll get serious about crime fighting among this state. From every rural community to
Madam DA,
I'm answering my question.
I'm good. That's not an answer to the question.
Okay, well, if this committee wants to get serious about legislation to make the community.
No one asked your tail to come there to be the community's mouthpiece. You know why you're there. You need to stick to why you're there, and you need to deal with why you're there. You don't need to do these big filibusters and go on to all this other stuff. What you need to be dealing with is, why did you do what you did when you did it? That's that. And answer the question, for the love of God.
In the state of Georgia, safer. They will invest more money in every district attorney's office across this state. That's the rural DAs need more, the middle size, the residentials, and the big cities like Atlanta. All of us need more resources to be able to do our job appropriately. And it is a joke the way that these people are funded, that are dedicating their lives to public service. Also, I want to go back to, because this is extremely important and you have the power to do it, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation cannot taste rape kids.
For advice on what the legislature
you asked
do.
What the resolution said, to take advice on legislation.
And we will get to that time.
You answer the question, she has a right to fully answer.
And if she would answer the question, Governor, I would not be saying it. She's pontificating on everything from rape kits, which was what she was about to get into. The question was the amount of money that came from state funds and county
It's
funds.
about it's about the pontification of the situation in the constipation that this lady is examination and saying out of her mouth, and I don't think that piece goes, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's her pontification.
The answer to that question, the answer is I don't know. The question isn't let me talk. The answer isn't let me talk about rape kits. So I'll get back to
this lady
the line
is
of
the
question.
best.
I'm going to give you latitude here, Madam DA, but I same way in a courtroom. there are guardrails as to what we need to stay in and within.
She don't know how to stay within no
Indeed,
guardrails.
Governor. And this is not a court.
And she doesn't respect boundaries.
Evidentiary rulings, and you don't have the power.
I have plenary power, Governor, to conduct the meeting.
No, sir,
Absolutely.
You do not have plenary power. I know you think you do and that you're above the law, but you are not. If you want to cite her for contempt,
Governor,
she is entitled to a jury trial, and I can examine you on your actions, and I can examine you on your motives. Then I will be glad to take that, as Clint Eastwood would say, make my day.
We know the motives. He's on the ballot.
Governor, this is a
witch hunt.
this is a hearing
Always been a witch
of the
hunt.
Senate Special Committee on
You're
Investigations.
not worried about those that you convicted.
I'm with you,
people
Tonette.
locked up. Why is it that you run ads?
We're going to go on to our next question. How are the funds? You say that we give you the money, and I know that's a loose term,
DA for every-
and
that's-
that flows into the Fulton County coffers, so to speak.
Lord have
and when you
mercy.
remit payment, you do that through the Fulton County accounting system. Is that correct?
Your question was compound. I didn't understand.
Sure. I'll try to break that down. When checks are written as a result of a check request made by your office, those checks are paid by Fulton County. Is that correct?
I don't know how every check is written and if that's going to be 100% accurate. So I'm going to refrain from asking that question. What I can tell you is that, and probably happens in every other circuit, the district attorney has control over their budget and they don't have to go to the county. But I understood I was a woman DA coming into office. I also understood that I was African American. And so therefore there would always be a target on my back. And so I did two things financially. One is I've never, so people can stop requesting, had a credit card associated with that office. Never. So I've never had a credit card, will never have a credit card. The other thing I did is that there is a CFO of Fulton County, a white female. Her name is Sharon Whitmore. I believe you've heard from her. And so I made it so that the procedures of my office, although I did not have to do it, that it has to go through her for clearance. That way, nobody would say the district attorney stole any money.
Okay, that gets to the core of my question. So when you're paying vendors, when you're paying contractors, that's going through. I think you said her name was Miss Whitmore, and she did testify before the committee. What I'm getting to, and I'm trying to figure out, is whether when the state funds come in, the federal funds come in, the county funds come in, are those paid for out of separate accounts? Are those funds kind of commingled into a general budget, if you will, and that gets allocated?
I really couldn't answer the question. There's many different pots of money from the county. The state directly pays those state employees. Then they get another check from the county, the ones that don't make enough from the state. I really can't fully answer your question of all the ways. I have a team that I call my deputy. I have a deputy of operations and a team that does that kind of stuff. But there's some money from the county. There's some money from the state. The grant money I know goes through the state. The truth is I don't have any grants. Fulton County has grants, but those grants do benefit my office. My Saki unit is renowned. I'm ending the year with 100% conviction rate on Special Victims Division. Saki is a sexual assault kit initiative. Georgia, like many states, failed victims, mainly victims of color. And so rape kits for years, going back to the 80s, were not tested. So we have a grant with the federal government that, and I'm talking about thousands of rape kits where they go and they test those rape kits. What we have found is if they would have done those jobs and believed those victims, that many of those rape kits go back to serial rapists. They also go back to people that have committed other crimes. I have excellent attorneys that are in that unit, some that I pay out of the grant, some that I add with my general fund. And as I said, not just my Saki unit, but my crimes against children unit, my Saki unit, my sexual assault unit, my human trafficking unit. We're ending the year with 100%.
So just yes or no on these. We can move quickly on to the next topic. You said you do not have a county credit card or a DA credit card.
Absolutely not. So y'all can say I stole some money.
Is there any sort of DA checking account that's separate that you use to pay your vendors or anything like that? Or is it all to go through the county?
I really can't answer that. And so I'm not going to speculate.
Okay. You mentioned forfeiture funds before. Do you have a ballpark of how much you've received? I think you said it was a small number of state forfeiture funds.
No, I said federal.
Okay.
I don't think there's much in the federal forfeiture account.
Do you receive state forfeiture funds?
I do.
Approximately how much a year is that in an average year?
I don't know the number to that. I can tell you I have sitting in abeyance. I just did a huge forfeiture, but it's not money we can touch yet, and it's a couple $1 million.
Okay. What's your understanding of the allowed uses of state forfeiture funds?
Oh, if I don't know the use of a forfeiture money, I talk to lawyers in the office. I'll go to PAC. I don't touch forfeiture money unless I get some approval.
Do you know of any delineation between the allotment, the allowance of uses between state forfeiture funds
Yeah, there's definitely
and federal?
rules around. There's definitely rules.
I was asking about the difference between federal and state, if there's any rules there.
There are rules to both, and I don't know I can't tell you the rules for each. Anytime we were going to make an expenditure, we would look at it, I'm sure.
Do you know if those funds are commingled at all within your system?
I don't know it, but I would believe not.
Okay. Who is it? You mentioned that you've got people. Who is it that oversees the use of forfeiture funds in the office?
It's going to be the county that stuff is going to go back to the county.
Okay. And do you know whether or not any forfeiture funds were used to pay Mr. Wade?
I'm not aware of that. We would have submitted the invoices to the county. The county would have used one of those mini line items.
Okay, so that's exactly where they're headed, because that was the buzz a few years ago with regards to this, that they had paid him out of the forfeiture funds. So that's where they're headed, and she knows it. And so she's going to continue to pretend like she doesn't appreciate their line of questioning, but that's what's up.
They would have paid him.
Can you think of a reason why forfeiture funds would be used to pay Mr. Wade?
I guess
Don't answer. She just told you that she doesn't know. So
yeah, you were asking me to speculate.
You do not know whether Mr. Wade was paid with state forfeiture funds or not?
You're asking me to speculate.
No, I'm asking if you know whether or not state forfeiture, any forfeiture funds were used.
I'm unaware of that.
Okay.
I'm unaware if the answer is yes. I'm unaware if the answer is no. What I'm aware of is the process was turn in a bill and they would do it. You and Jim Jordan working together?
I've never talked to Mr. Jordan. Just
I don't know
want to
about
point
that. Anybody who doesn't report people that get raped in college, I'm gonna have to disagree
just
with you
want to
there,
point this
Governor.
out here. This is you recognize the
Do you see why I question her education? Because those types of pot shots are types of things that you do if you don't have any other method of dealing with controversy or dealing with even something as simple as a speech competition or, something like that. She's just so gruff. Now you're talking about Jim Jordan, but you're throwing out his past, and you fail to and refuse to deal with the questions that they're asking. The answer is, according to what we've seen publicly, she did pay him out of forfeiture funds. She did, according to what we've seen, not to what I say. So allegedly, it's been said that they paid him out of forfeiture funds there in Fulton County. That's why they're harping. But for her to throw in Jim Jordan, a man that she refused to answer subpoenas to, and it wasn't just that it was Jim Jordan, it was them as a collective. She has no respect. She sits there with this, oh my God, she's just an embarrassment. She really is. For her to have amassed as much as she has, I would have expected that she would have done greater things within her as she keeps pushing community. I would have, had it been me, I would have been good for everybody. I would have turned that whole area around. I would have made sure that everybody was walking, the way that they were supposed to walk. But she gets in there and does everything opposite of what she feigned to do while running. And now, even while she's sitting here, she's just with impunity pushing these false narratives. That's amazing to me. That is so, ooh, let's go. Just amazing.
bottom form here, Fulton County court payment voucher.
I don't.
Is this you've never seen any document in this format before?
Never.
Okay. Well, this shows a number of things here. It shows what fund it was paid from here, which is 440, which is your the forfeiture fund account. You can see at the top the unit name confiscated funds for this invoice, and then here you can see that this was
My question is, wouldn't she have to have signed off on something like that?
payment made, and I apologize, you can't see my mouse. On the left side there, right in the middle, you can see that this was a payment made to the law office of Nathan Wade. In reviewing for your testimony today, we just did review the bills and look through different sources of funds that were used to pay Mr. Wade. I know your testimony is you were not aware that forfeiture funds were used. We saw Mr. Wade was paid from forfeiture funds and from the county general fund, which is Fund 100. And that's why I was getting to the uses of forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors. Do you have any knowledge of any restrictions that may be around the concept of using forfeiture funds to pay independent contractors?
I do not. It was my understanding that Mr. Wade was paid out of my professional services budget.
Okay. What's the accounting process? That's kind of what I was getting to earlier. Of kind of, if it was your understanding he was paid out of the professional services budget, that would intimate that there's some sort of accounting procedure within either your office or the county office where there are separate fund allocations. And I asked you if your funds were commingled and everything was paid out of the same, or if there were dedicated accounts. So you were unaware that Mr. Wade was paid out of the forfeiture funds. You believe he was paid out of the professional services funds. What would be the process, as you understand, in your office to determine what fund a invoice is paid from?
You're in the weeds, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. We've already talked about the selection.
I can't let that go. I can't. How is he in the weeds when he is asking a direct question that is based on an answer that you gave earlier? So he's not in the weeds, madam. You could possibly be on some weed because he was very clear. You were very clear, and we all heard it.
The special SADA, special assistant district attorneys, I may use those interchangeably. The process of interviewing Governor Barnes, among some other folks, ultimately settling on Mr. Wade.
Well, I don't want you to act like he was,
Well, after just talking to 2 or 3 people, I think, to be fair, I don't think I'm not saying it's the bottom.
He's been practicing law 25 years.
Sure. What was the reason that you chose to use, and I think if you could just unpack this for us a little bit more, that you chose to use a special assistant DA at the rate of $250 an hour versus using the attorneys that were already in your office, or hiring additional attorneys at a rate that you referenced earlier is between, I think you said between $85,000 and $200,000 a year?
Because we were drowning, and so most of the lawyers I had in the office wouldn't be qualified to do that work. Most of them. I had some that were qualified to do that work, but each of them had a major project. Let me use those 2 cases that mattered most to me: Kennedy Maxey and Sequoia Turner. I was determined we were going to win those cases. So on day 1, those cases got handed to Miss Dacia Young. In addition to handing her that, because nobody has one job, I handed her the special victims division, at which time had like 8 units. So she's doing both these 2 big cases, and she's over the entire special victims division. Same thing with Mr. Carlson, very qualified lawyer, but I handed him 6 units. And I also told him, you gonna get rid of these 250 or so murders that we have. We're gonna do a project. We're gonna set it up. We're gonna go one by one. So every lawyer I had with that level of experience had a huge project. I assigned a lawyer to deal with the 18,000 backlog. I don't want to be sitting here and, it took us, I think, 3 years to get through those, as well as keep up with the 46,000 cases that end up coming in my first term. So everyone had some. So it became obvious to me that I needed a lawyer that could manage this team while I did the rest of the work of the people.
And there was nobody else, either internal or that you could have hired at a lower rate that could, you just
described. Lower rate than $250? It's an insult to take $250 for a lawyer that's been practicing law that long.
I thought you told me earlier that your range of people that work for you are between 85, not dollars an hour, but $85,000 a year and $200,000.
Yeah, but $85,000 is like one domestic violence grant. I usually only hire someone with 3 years of experience. I make an exception with that because that's, an offensive salary. Although I can tell you, I think the state is paying lawyers $64,000. I mean, it's ridiculous.
What is her flipping? This lady's retarded. That's just it in a nutshell. We can wrap it up there, folks. She's not well. She's mentally not well. She's delusional at best.
I know a little girl just graduated Georgetown Law, and she's making $280,000-$300,000 a year. We do not take public service seriously, and we need to, because my lawyers do greater work than most of these lawyers in this civil firm.
And let me point out one thing. You're using gross amounts. That doesn't include
Benefits.
The perks, the health insurance, and all that stuff. Which way did that have?
Sure. So describe for me the experience level of your top paid, or somebody that would fall within the category of the top paid assistant district attorney that works for you at the $200,000 a year. And to Governor Barnes's point, plus benefits, let's just say that that's $250. And if I take that divided by 2,000 hours, that's about $125 an hour.
I don't understand the question.
My question is, what is the experience level of the assistant district attorney?
Are you trying to intimate that you're going to tell me who to hire and how to do my job?
No, ma'am. I'm asking you, the people, the wonderful people that you have hired, they're the top of your pay scale at $200,000 a year. What is their experience level? Because I'll let you answer that, and I'll ask my next question.
20 years practicing or more.
And it's your testimony that somebody with 20 years practicing or more would not be able to manage the election interference case.
You are really not listening. I said that I had people at that pay rate, and each of them was assigned a major task within my office. And no, I did not have anyone that was not assigned with a major task that I trusted to manage this case. And so I made a decision. The people of Fulton County elected me to make that decision, and I did.
Is there a reason why you decided to go the special assistant district attorney route via independent contractor as opposed to a new full-time hire?
I think it's asked and answered, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was cheap. You don't have to pay the perks.
Governor, I'm happy for you to provide counsel to your client, but in terms of testimony, that's what the district attorney is here for today.
Well,
Can you describe?
Give you fair notice. I'm not going to allow her to answer repetitive questions that have been answered time and time again.
Were there any internal policies that you had that kind of drew a line between you when you would use your internal staff versus hiring a special assistant district attorney, or was it more so based on workload like you described?
It was based on my decisions.
Okay. At its peak, how many total attorneys were working on the election interference case?
Maybe 9, approximately.
You referenced to Mr. Cross before. I believe that's
Who?
I believe you referenced to Mr. Cross before.
I don't know Mr. Cross.
A couple minutes ago. Miss Cross, I apologize.
What about him?
Her.
Who are you talking about?
Miss Anna Cross.
I never referenced Miss Anna Cross.
I believe you referenced Miss Cross when we were going through
I didn't read back the testimony.
Can you give me the breakdown of the total attorneys that were on the case? How many of those were full-time within your office, and how many of those were independent contractors?
I believe I had 3 independent contractors.
One of those being Mr. Wade. Who were the other 2?
John Floyd, Anna Cross. Diversity, white male, white female, black male. Diversity is intentional.
What kind of experience do you look for in those special assistant district attorneys?
They're all amazing lawyers. John Floyd is the RICO expert. He wrote the book, literally. He taught me RICO. So that was his experience. He's not he's not necessarily going to be the trial prosecutor, but he certainly is great to help you put together an indictment, and he is certainly capable of questioning a witness, but that was not his forte. Ms. Cross is a brilliant mind. She writes beautifully, and is very well versed in the law. I had worked for a prosecutor in the past, so I looked for smart people with integrity that could do the work. And I got 3 lawyers, each the God put in different skin, that could do the work.
Thank you for giving us Ms. Cross's background, the rest of those as well. Has Mr. Wade ever prosecuted a RICO case prior to the election interference case?
Mr. Wade has certainly was served as a prosecutor before this. He also has worked as a criminal defense attorney, and I believe he has defended RICO cases.
But as far as you know, he had not prosecuted.
I didn't need him for that. That's why I get to make the selection and not you.
Has he ever prosecuted any felonies? I know you referenced him prosecuting cases. My understanding that this was the first felony case. that he
Wait,
was on the
did she just take a
prosecutor's
dig?
side for. Is that
Hold
accurate?
on.
I'm not sure if that's integrity that could do the work. And I got 3 lawyers, each big guy put in different skin, that could do the work.
Thank you for giving us Ms. Cross's background, the rest of those as well. Has Mr. Wade ever prosecuted a RICO case prior to the election interference case?
Mr. Wade has certainly was served as a prosecutor before this. He also has worked as a criminal defense attorney, and I believe he has defended RICO cases.
But as far as you know, he had not prosecuted.
I didn't need him for that. That's why I get to make the selection and not you.
See, that's why I get to make the selection and not you. It's the attitude, it's the sense of entitlement, the rudeness for me.
Has he ever prosecuted any felonies? I know you referenced him prosecuting cases. It's my understanding that this was the first felony case that he was on the prosecutor side for. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure if that's accurate. I know I believe he did some work for the Attorney General, although the Attorney General never tries as many cases as my office.
Want to talk
But
about
different people are needed for.
So you see here on the screen, her attorney is looking at his watch. Hang in there, buddy. You will get your coffee break soon. Yeah, so for those folks who don't know, that's former governor of Georgia, former Governor Barnes. And he was at one point in his life a formidable attorney. And so, yeah, he was a former governor. But there's a lot of history between he and she and some of the people that sent him. And I'll leave that right there.
Different things. And the people of Fulton County elected me to make those decisions. And I know y'all want to come in and be daddy and create QAnon committees that will judge prosecutors and have these committees. But unfortunately for you, I won this vote by 68% this time, 87 in the Democratic, 68 the general, 72% last time. So the people of Fulton County have selected me to make these choices, and I make them. And my city and county are safer because I make them.
in the
Now, I'm going to tell you, I beg to differ there. That's one of the cities that I do not go to. When I do go back to Georgia to visit, I don't like that city. Her police are terrible. And even though she's sitting here trying to pretend like, this committee that she's made up of for the people's civil rights and all that stuff's hogwash, because the people in her area that are committing the most, in my opinion, egregious offenses against the citizenry look exactly like her and me, for that matter, if you just want to put it out there, in that area. They are horrible. They are disrespectful. They will do things that they move with impunity. They do what they do. And no matter what it is, they just do it the way they want to do it. So I find it very curious that she is so abrasive right now and just, defending everything that she's said. And at the same time, talking about the police there when it's her watch. So this is so, and such a female Democrat. It's all I got to say. She's such a female Democrat.
in your prior testimony with Miss Ashley Merchant, there was conversation around what she referred to as block billing. How would you describe block billing?
Oh, let's talk about Miss Merchant.
Let's just talk about block billing, please.
We're not.
I've opened the question to block billing.
The credibility of whoever saying it is.
Why can't we just talk about block billing? Why do we have to talk about Ashley Merchant? Why? Why? We don't need to talk about Ashley Merchant, but if we gonna talk about the girl, let me tell you, she's on her game. She is on her game, and she knows her job, and that is what she dislikes so greatly about her.
Is that an issue?
Well, then let's just
So I'd like to talk about what this committee did the last time we were here, and for the press, I will have 50 copies of this so each person can get a copy. You all, the last time y'all had a committee meeting, you all purported this lie that I had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris.
questions.
Me?
about
No,
block
I'm
billing,
going to
Madam
answer
Dia.
this question right now. And when you stated that,
Cut
you
her mic
stated that
off.
It was me and it was Mayor Dickens. And then you put this exhibit up for the entire world to see. How disingenuous, how lacking of integrity for Miss Merchant as an attorney to put it up, and for Counselor, who I noticed is cowardly not here, to have it here. This clearly says, I'm at a Black History Month project. Almost every important Black elected official across the country was invited to it. I'm on the lawn with a cocktail, and yet y'all tell the world I was sitting down with the vice president having a meeting. It was a damn lie. And this is the evidence of it. And y'all had the audacity to put it up on a screen as if you were showing something other than the DA was having a cocktail on the lawn. I have never even had the honor of meeting Vice President Kamala Harris. Never.
How would you define block billing?
Like somebody who didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Let me tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you guys something, and I'm going to be so real with you right here. If she were purple, I wouldn't like her. This has nothing to do with her ethnicity. But what does have something to do with her ethnicity is the outcome. Because when people are wrong, no matter what color I should say, when people are wrong and they conduct themselves in such a way, at the end of it all, they end up ruining the day that they did not just do what they do. Because here's a problem. There are levels to discipline. There are things that they can make a decision and say, okay, this particular type of discipline would go from here to here. If there is wiggle room and they have the opportunity to give her the height of that, they will do that because of how she's conducting herself. I hope I'm making myself clear. So in other words, if you were in a work setting and they had the opportunity to discipline somebody and give them the minor or a final, they could push anything if it fell into a specific category to an immediate final. But they did have leeway to do it at the minor or the middle, but then they chose the final based on a lot of things. Her attitude is an automatic, just give her the book. Throw the whole entire book at her. Let's not forget that these, it doesn't make it right for somebody to come after you when they have the opportunity and give it all to you and just let you have all of it. But she leaves herself very little meat on the bone. Very little meat is left on the bone with this lady. And she just continues and continues and continues to push and push and push the envelope. And if you keep pushing the envelope like this, when they get the opportunity to throw the book at you, they're going to throw the book, the publisher, the binding, everything at you. They're going to even probably reach out and get the cliff notes for people who couldn't read the whole book. They're going to throw the entire book at this lady. And it's not just because of what's going on. It's because they're allowed to go to a certain level and they will throw it at the top level. Even if they appeal this or whatever it is and try to drop it back down, they're still going to go at her throat. They're going for the jugular. So to me, it would seem that it would just be best for you to answer the flipping questions, deal with the topic at hand, answer it, and move the freak on. She's making this a media frenzy because they're going to take this, and by they, I mean her people, they're going to take it, chop it up, and throw it out there in the media and hope that there are enough people who watch it that will then side with her. But the danger is the people who have the decision making and the ability to dictate where she goes in the future are the ones that she's actually offending right now. And I don't really care who it is. When you go into a court, when you go into a hearing, you should behave the best that you possibly can. She is offended, but she's offended by the things that she threw out there on the water. So everything that she's done is what she's throwing on the water. The bread she threw out there on the water is what she's dealing with. And it just blows me. It really blows me.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I
I'll give
only
you time to
allowed
review the
Mr. Wade to
documents.
bill 160 hours a week, and then Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team and a public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to
So
this.
you jealous because this man is running for public office? You're upset because he's running for public office, and you drag that ignorance and that unprofessionalism into this hearing because you're mad? Make it make sense, homegirl. Make it make sense, because right now you are not. And this piece right here is so necessary. See, here's what they're doing. And she knows this. She did this before she got in there. This is what the plan was, to throw enough mud on the water to then confuse public opinion. That's what this is. Throw all this mud in the water, throw all this mud on the wall so that you can then later confuse the minds of the masses, especially those people who are now looking at MK Ultra type shorts just right in front of their faces. Quickly, quickly, quickly. And they're going to take these sound bites and they're going to take these little pieces, and that's what's going to stick. Because a lot of people don't read anymore. A lot of people don't take the time to look at long form content or to listen to other ideas other than the ones that are being pushed in their face or what their algorithm is bringing to them. And speaking of algorithm, if you've not already done so, please make sure that you guys are hitting that like button, and make sure that if you can, you share it, because my commentary means something in this case. It really honestly does. And you're not going to find my commentary anywhere else but with me. Let's go.
I know you said you don't approve.
I don't look at this.
review
I've never
these
seen it.
bills.
So I can't talk to you about documents I don't approve and don't review. Can't talk to you about it.
Who does approve the documents in your office when invoices come in?
I thought we've been through this.
I don't believe you said who reviews the invoices and approves the invoices in your
First of all, I have no firsthand knowledge of it.
office. You have no
You
firsthand
want me to
knowledge of-
testify about something I don't have any firsthand knowledge of?
I'm asking.
Are you asking me to speculate? Because I've clearly told you I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, and I'm not going to speculate.
The question is, when an invoice comes into your office from a special assistant district attorney, what is the review process for that invoice before it's paid?
And she's answered this. She said she has a deputy of operations, and he reviews, or she reviews, and then it goes through the county. So it's a repetitive question.
What's the name of the deputy of operations?
The question has been asked and answered, and I believe it goes straight to the county, so I'm not sure. Dexter Bond.
Okay. Do you know who ATG may be initials within your office?
I don't.
I would assume it's accurate to say it's probably not Dexter Bond.
I don't. It may be somebody at the county.
What we're looking at here are two bills that were paid by and approved by your department. The one on the left is from the Cross firm, which refers to Anna Cross that we referenced earlier. The one on the right is invoice number 11 from Nathan Wade. And the first thing that
Let me tell you why this is such a
the
damn
first
joke.
thing that jumps out to me as a non-lawyer, but as someone who has paid lawyer bills before, and I believe this gets to the question, the question which was around block billing. And here's my question for you, Madam DA. Are there rules in your contracts or otherwise when you hire independent contractors that gets to the billing methodology for your attorneys? In other words, are they allowed to always bill to the even hour, or is there a professional expectation that they would bill to the 10th?
Let me tell you something. I had 3 attorneys working with me that had integrity. For you to insinuate that a judge that sat for 10 years and was the head of the magistrate court judges that they did something illegal. They were underpaid. I have here documents where in one annual year, because I want you to remember his bills were over the course of 3 years. In one annual year made 8 million, made 5 million. And I'm going to make sure that the press has that so that when you're asking me about this great service to the state of Georgia, that it is understood that these are more than reasonable, actually bargain basement amounts. Ms. Cross would insist that I wrote government rate in her contract because she didn't want anyone to get confused that she would actually work for this rate, but for the fact that it was service to her community. So I don't know what we're talking about here, but to insinuate these 3 lawyers that have great integrity, have served this community well, did something unethical, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
I'm trying to.
I don't know anything about whatever you're talking about.
The state of Georgia allocates funding to your office.
They hire those 25 lawyers, yes.
And we are the questioning here is relative to the approval process of invoices that are paid by your office. You have testified that that is done by Dexter Bond, that you're unaware of who this ATG is that signed off on this. We'll move on to this further line of questioning here.
You know, old men have to go to the bathroom about every hour.
Governor, would you like a 5-minute recess? We'll take a 5-minute recess.
All right, and so they're going to take a 5-minute recess so that Governor Barnes can use the restroom. But because I've elected to show this in delay so that we don't have any issues, let's see if they come back at any point. Okay, here we go. Because what I did is I just pulled it back so that we could watch it
2
from
million.
that
With the
aspect.
top one in
Here
that
we
year
go.
being AD as the initials.
Hold on, let's go back.
2,600,000 referred several times.
All right, here it comes. Yeah, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Not shocked, but I'm just amazed. So what's the moral of this story? If you're going to be about, let's see, reading a couple of these. Let me pause this for a second because I'll just do it like that. Okay, because it's still running. So let me see this. Okay, so what's the moral of this story? If you're going to lie about Donald Trump and get away with it using false reports, keep men out of the women's sports and Fani Willis out of Nathan's show. You tricked me. That was a setup. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, here we go.
1,000 in attorney's fees. I've done initial 52 million in attorney's fees with the top recipient in a year, initial AF. I've taken
Looks like they're having some problems.
52,000 in attorney's fees. I've done initial 52 million in attorney's fees with the top recipient in that year, initials AF. I've taken off their name at 3,593,000. That was for 2020. In 2021, again, in excess of 52 million, with the top one in that year being AD as the initials, 2,673,000. I should note the great Josh Belafonte was one of the recipients that year, and he made 1.3 million in 2021. In 2022, the AG's office spent on special prosecutors $55 million. DS being the top recipient for that year,
I think
$2 million, 200,000. Josh Belafonte made $911,000. In 2023, the AG's office spent $65 million with the top recipient making $5 million, initials MR, and I'm going to finish. And 2024, the top recipient was MR, and they made $4.6 million. And then let's not leave off 2020.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question here.
By the AG on special prosecutors with the top recipient MR.
They literally cut her mic. Somebody heard me in the ether.
421,000, and y'all are talking to me about pennies.
Right,
and I have a copy for the press 50 if you like them.
The cop, who cares? Pass them out,
right,
big mouth.
Pass
them out.
And it is relevant.
Boy, oh boy. I know she and I in a parallel universe are on the opposite sides of the law. I mean, as far as it relates to
All right, I want to
prosecutor and
refer your attention to the
defendant
screen.
attorney. I know she and I in the parallel universe, I'm kicking her tail because to me it's like, baby, just let me at her. I don't know how these guys
Nadia, have
sit
you seen
there
this
with
letter before?
such grace and allow this woman to do what she does.
Do you have seen this letter before?
Yes, that's how it got signed.
You sent this letter on December 17th, 2021, requesting access to documents to from the January 6th committee, Chairman, Mr. Representative Thompson. Is that correct?
I did.
Okay. Did you or anyone in your office receive help in your investigation from the January 6th commission?
Do you want me?
What do you mean by help?
Here we go.
Did they
I
send
don't
you
want to answer
documents?
this because it's going to incriminate me.
Public
Just
document.
plead the fifth.
Did they send you
Booker.
any documents that were not public? That were not public at the time? 'Cause
None that I
believe
can
the report's
recall.
been
None that I
released.
can recall.
In the letter, you offer to meet them in person. Did they take you up on the offer to meet in person?
I've never met Thompson.
Have you ever met anyone that was doing work with the January 6th commission?
Not to my knowledge. I may have met them and not known they were doing that work.
Mr. Wade traveled to DC with members of your staff. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Wade billed for conference calls with the January 6th committee. Is that correct?
Haven't looked at the bills.
What difference does that make?
On the left side of the screen here, and I apologize, the camera's in your way. There's a screen over here.
You'll have to remember the criminals that I
Yes, I can
indicted,
see.
they had committed crimes all over the country. And so as a result, as a prosecutor, if you know that a criminal has done crimes in this state and other states, it would almost not be due diligence to try to get information from them. Here goes some more legislation you can take up. There is a process called TUI with the federal government where state prosecutors try to get information from federal prosecutors. They are not very helpful.
On this bill, on the left-hand side, the first
I
red
haven't
highlight.
seen the bill, so you remember?
That's why I'm showing it to you, Madam DA. It says team meeting conference with January 6th, research legal issues to prep and then it ends with V. He testified, and the testimony is on the right side of the screen that meant interview. And then the second one is travel out of state, interview and research, which was from April 27th until April 29th. Are you aware of a trip that Mr. Wade took out of state that your office paid for in April of 2022?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the trip?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm sure to get information on some of the criminals I ended up indicting.
This slide here shows essentially a reimbursement request on the right-hand side for Mr. Wade at the Hyatt Place Hotel. And on the left-hand side, this is an invoice for the Hyatt Place Hotel during the time period I referenced earlier for Mr. Michael Hill. Do you know who Michael Hill is?
He was an assistant chief when he left my office. He's an investigator, though, a sworn law enforcement officer.
And he was on your staff during April of 2022. You said when he left your office. When did he leave the office?
I don't remember. But yes to the first question. He was on my staff at that time. I don't remember to the second question of when did he leave. Not long ago, he got a higher title at another office.
Do you know who else from your office attended this trip?
I can't recall. You can refresh my recollection if you like.
This is an invoice for the same hotel on the same dates from Mr. Francis. I assume it's Mr. Wakeford. Is that someone that worked in your staff?
An amazing attorney.
What was his role?
He's an attorney.
What did he do what work did he do within your department, your team?
He does all types of work, but he is what I would consider to be an appellate lawyer.
Did he do work on the elections interference case?
Absolutely.
What work did he do on the election interference case?
He did a lot of excellent writing.
This slide here is for Mr. John Wooten. Same hotel, same dates, same trip to DC. Do you know John Wooten
He works for me.
currently?
Yes.
What was his role in April of 2022?
A lawyer, works for my office, does a lot of white collar crime for me.
Did work on the election interference case?
Yep.
Okay. So is it safe to assume from both the testimony I had on the screen, your letter, and Mr. Wade's invoices that reference January 6th, is it safe to assume that Mr. Wade and other members of your staff went to DC in furtherance of your investigation of the 2022 election? Or sorry, 2020 election.
I'm not going to make assumptions under oath.
You are unaware of whether or not members of your staff, 4 of them that we have here so far, or 3 and 1 independent contractor, you're unaware as to whether or not the purpose of their DC trip was to meet with the January 6th committee or members of the January 6th committee or lawyers working for the J6 committee.
I know that they went to DC, and I know it was in reference to this investigation. I do not recall who they spoke with, but you all have tried to make this some nefarious thing that lawyers would try to investigate and find out information about people who came to Georgia and committed crimes. And instead of being honorable and trying to defend those people that you take an oath to serve, we're here with this foolishness.
Do you know how many trips Mr. Wade took to DC?
In his life?
As it relates to the J6 committee or the 2020 elections interference case?
I believe 1, but I don't know. It's speculation.
Well, it wouldn't be speculation if he had told you about it. Did he tell you about any other trips that he took?
But what you have to remember is it is whatever day it is in December of 2025, and I'm an office that prosecutes 64,000 people, and I know you are somewhat offended that I had the audacity to prosecute, these folks that came into my county and committed crimes. But
don't nobody care about that, heifer.
Another day of business.
Just answer the questions. Y'all don't get gutter enough with her. Y'all just let her go. You need to quit letting her go and just get back funky with her. If you get back funky with her, she's sitting back in that seat and shut up.
On the screen is another invoice from Mr. Wade. The highlighted section, I'll just read it out loud. Says January 6th meeting and ATTY conf. That's from November 16th of 2022. And then there's a second entry immediately below that, interview with DC/White House, November 18, 2022. Have you seen this bill?
No.
Are you aware of phone calls or conferences that Mr. Wade either attended or was a part in that relates to the J6 committee or the election interference case, working with the J6 committee that is separate from the April trip that we just discussed?
We didn't do much work with a J6 committee. So I've never seen this bill before. And I believe the only thing that we called the White House about was, did we have to go through the TUI process with that White House like we have to do with the Department of Justice? That's my recollection. That could be right or wrong, but we were trying to speak to people in the Trump administration, the first one. So I don't believe we had a lot of contact with the White House. So I'm not aware.
You said you were trying to speak with people that were part of the first Trump administration in these travels to DC, or are you saying that more generally?
More generally.
Okay. And just to clarify, I want to make sure that I have the record correct here. You're unaware of who Mr. Wade.
I can't recall those level of details. I know you want to take me back to 1948, where an African-American prosecutor can only prosecute certain types of people, but I prosecute and stand up for all victims that come into my circuit.
When was the special purpose grand jury impaneled?
I don't remember the date, but that's an interesting point. 2 grand juries said these people did these crimes.
The date that I have
and the grand jury was made up of independents, Democrats, Republicans. 2.
The date that I have is January 24th of 2022. Does that seem like it's within the range of being the correct date?
So I already stated I don't trust you. I understand you're trying to run for lieutenant governor right now. Anything you want me to testify to, I'm going to need to see.
Okay. Were you aware that?
Do you see? Do you see? Didn't I just say this lady is bitter because this man is running for public office? She is bitter because he's running for public office, and I don't understand. Oh my gosh, she's an embarrassment, not to just Black folks. She is an embarrassment to everybody. She's an embarrassment to anybody that lives in the state of Georgia, anybody who is a resident of Fulton County. And if they're not embarrassed, they should be. This lady is a hot rump mess. She's a mess. She's so ghetto. I don't mind ghetto because I can get a little ghetto myself, baby. But I'm saying she's ghetto to the point of ignorance. You know what I mean? Just like it don't take, you could be orange and be ghetto. We're going to leave that there. Clock it.
Jury being sworn in and receiving evidence, Mr. Wade traveled to Athens, Georgia to meet with officials from the White House counsel's office.
I don't recall.
On the right-hand side here is the meeting that I reference. A highlighted section reads, travel to Athens, conf with White House.
How does this
counsel.
assist you in developing laws for Georgia? Because I believe the purpose that I'm here for is because you all need assistance in doing your job, and you want assistance with rules and regulations around how people should be a prosecutor. And it made sense to me that you'd come to the best prosecutor in the state to ask for some advice. But I'm confused as to how this assists you and what the purpose of me being here is.
The committee has a broad purpose. I'd be happy to refer to counsel as to the overall purpose of the committee. But my question for you is, as it relates
I don't
to this
think it's
travel,
relevant, so I'm objecting on relevance.
She's asked and answered that. She's told you that the TUI process goes through the White House counsel's office. She's asked, it's been asked and answered.
And it's your testimony today that the travel to Athens, conference with the White House counsel, as far as you were aware, was due to a part of this TUI process that the governor's referencing.
I've testified. I don't recall anything about this.
Okay.
And I don't see how it's relevant to what your alleged purpose is. Now, your real purpose is to try to get elected, which I would say, Georgia, please, let's elect any lieutenant governor but this one.
We'll get to your work.
I can't help it. This heifer right here.
Second, Madam DA, but for now we're talking about the
I've done no work with
Absolutely.
elected governor, but if I will do some work with this, I see that Counselor left you
contract.
alone,
I'm not
and he is running to be Attorney General of this state,
Madam DA,
and
we're
he
gonna
is
answer
not
the question.
qualified to be such. By record, by
She is a fucking bull in a china cabinet. I'm sorry, but she is. She is a defense attorney's nightmare. And nobody but this cat that has absolutely nothing to do, okay, would defend her. All right? This is a... Look at what's on the screen. The law offices of Nathan J. Wade. That's what's on the screen. What's highlighted is witness interviews, conference call in D.C., team meeting. The dates completed was 9/7/2022 through 9/9/2022, and the hours billed were 24 hours at $200 for a cost of $6,000. The travel to Athens is over here, okay? The conference with White House counsel, that was on 5/23/2022. 8 hours billed at $250 for a total of $2,000. In case anybody is wondering what this is on the screen, and I don't know, perhaps why it's on the screen. This is why it's on the screen, because this is what they're trying to get to the crux stuff. They want to get down to the meat and potatoes, right? They want to get all the way down to the anise and the finite of it all. Okay, they want to get down to the mustard seed. If you ever seen one, they want to get down to that. All right, the amoeba of it all. They want to get down. And this lady, the reason why I'm blowing up here is because she is totally deflecting from what the meat is. So in case anybody out there really wants to know what this is on the screen and what they really want to get her to answer about, I suggest you take a look, because that's what it's all about, Alfie.
this document where he put up a false document trying to prove that I met with the vice president, that shows you he does not have ethics. But there is somebody running for attorney general that has been a state prosecutor, a federal prosecutor, a civil rights attorney, and a state's legislature. So if people want to vote for people that are ethical and actually have the experience to do the job, I say go donate now to Tanya Miller.
Look at this mess. Okay. Let me just tell you guys something. I'm going to be very honest with you. Her behavior is the reason why y'all don't see me. That's the type of stuff right there that prevent me from even wanting to have anything else to do with anything political. And I've been trying to shift. I've been trying to pivot, but it's in my blood. It's who I am. I don't know how to do anything else other than this. And so what ends up happening is I get so flippant disgusted because of the circus and the bread and circus and the shows that they're able to do. And this type of behavior in any other setting and in any other, I think, decade would have been nipped in the bud. They would have not only cut the feed, they would have cut her mic, they would have postponed it, they would have done something, found a way to put her in a situation that she would let her have to just do the Fifth Amendment all the way across, or you go to jail. You either going to answer the questions accordingly, or you're going to say, I plead the Fifth, or you're going to be in contempt if you continue this, right? So she is trying to sit here and run this campaign, this quasi campaign for this person who's running against this gentleman who has nothing to do with the sins and the crimes that you've allegedly committed against the Fulton County citizenry and against the state of Georgia. Okay? You're there like a bull in a fucking china cabinet, behaving unseemly because you know that you're wrong. And you know that if you're held to task, and you know that if your feet are held to the fire to answer these questions, that it's going to change everybody's opinion, because that's what the truth does. The truth cuts asunder. All right? The truth is like the knife to the butter. It gets to the bottom of things. And you know that if you have to answer these things with truth, you are going to be shown to be the liar that everybody sort of believes that you just might be, but they can't get to the bottom of it because, well, here you go. There you go. Running amok. So now they're sitting here, nobody's saying anything. Let's go back, because it's a lot. It's still there.
Mandy, I've asked you about Mr. Wade.
There you go.
Did you speak with anyone that had worked with the January 6th committee or was a lawyer for the J6 committee?
That's been asked and answered. She said she'd never done it herself. That's what she testified.
Did you communicate with members of the J6 committee through any intermediaries that relayed messages back and forth on your behalf?
I don't recall ever speaking to any one of the January 6th committee. What you asked me, though, is have I ever met someone? I am a public official. I meet people all over this country all the time. Shake hands, take pictures, kiss babies, all the things elected officials do. So I have no idea if I've ever met someone that may have been part of the January 6th committee.
And I want, what is J6? Is that where they stormed the Capitol
And killed a police officer?
Is that the same committee we're talking about? So that it's clear on the record.
The ones that have been exonerated, we say that we stand with law enforcement, but don't care when police officers get killed.
We're going to continue on to the next question. Governor, you are here to advise your counsel. You're not here to pontificate. Absolutely.
Absolutely irrelevant, everything that you're trying to say.
How does this help you for loss? Yes, I'm sorry, Judge. I'm sorry, Governor.
If you've got something to ask it, but don't go into, well, there must have been a conspiracy here when they went up and looked into the folks that broke into the Capitol in shamu suits or whatever that was, and put the Vice President of the United States out saying, hang Mike Pence, and that they were prosecuted and then pardoned by President Trump, and you're trying to say and infer that it was illegal, immoral to investigate that it was part of a pending case. So
we're asking questions relative to the investigation, Governor. We're going to move on to the next question.
You're trying to infer some wrongdoing where none exists. Ask the question, let's move on.
Thank you for
also to divide this country, and it should be noted that there were many great honorable Republicans that brought this case to me because they knew what happened was wrong. One of them is Duncan, who's now running for governor.
So you have your endorsement?
I didn't endorse him.
Wait just a minute. Don't answer that question.
So
But
For
I do
everyone
think it should
else,
be
but-
noted that although you are trying to divide this country, that this country is not divided. Most people in this country are trying to do the right thing every day as they get up for work. Most people know when someone is murdered and victimized, you don't act as a depraved human being and tease them and their family in their greatest time of loss. Most people.
So I want to talk about a little bit of a timeline as it relates to DC, and just a layout of fact pattern here, and then I'll ask you a couple questions. On November 9th, then President Biden stated and was asked about President Trump returning to office, and he stated that we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power. If he does run, making sure he, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, does not become the next president again. Are you familiar with that quotation from the president?
It has nothing to do with this inquiry. If you want to subpoena President Biden, subpoena him down here. I'll come. I might even represent him. If he's got a fee. I hope he's got something left. We're getting mighty thin.
So a couple of days after this, President Trump did indeed announce that he was running for president. As you can see on the date there, November 15th, 2022. And then the very next day, and we've referenced this a second ago, but we're going to go back to it.
This helps you
The very-
develop
the very
legislation.
next day-
How?
The very next day, there was a conversation between Mr. Wade. I'm sorry, there was an 8-hour, was described here as an interview with DC and the White House.
Interview with who?
It reads interview DC/White House. It's
And
it's on the screen.
Answered. They said that they had.
And I'm laying a foundation here, Governor.
Don't answer yet. Let me listen to the question.
On November 18th, the very same day as this 8-hour phone call with the White House, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed special counsel Jack Smith. And around that same period of time, some news reports say the same day, but we know within 2 weeks of that time, Matthew Colangelo, who is the former third highest ranking official at DOJ, tendered his resignation to take a position in the Manhattan prosecutor's office, which would go on to also indict President Trump.
He committed crimes a lot of places.
And convicted by the jury of his peers.
And you
So-
know,
so
you
on
all
November-
want to, no,
on
this
November-
is very
on
important.
November
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing.
On-
And you think that you're going to intimidate me. You all have been trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office. And instead of doing some legislation,
Madam
when
Chair,
someone,
just trying to get
when
you here.
someone
Just
says
stop
something,
I have never wanted to hear the sentence "stop resisting or I'll tase you" more more in my life than I do right now. OMG.
inflammatory that you know is going to cause them to be the victims of crime. You ought to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't going to quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
The Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this time frame on December 15th of
And said
2022.
39 people should
Is
be
that-
indicted, but in my discretion and looking at the evidence that was the most damning, I chose to only present an indictment to the grand jury of 19. And who knew? The citizens of Fulton County, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, non-politicals, all said these 19 people deserve to be indicted, and they were.
The question was, the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report just under a month after this phone call between Mr. Wade and the White House. Just a month after, on the very same day, Jack Smith was appointed by Merrick Garland, and just a month after, the third-ranking member of the Department of Justice left the Department of Justice to go work for Alvin Bragg. That date being December 15th, 2022. Is that the date that the Special Purpose Grand Jury released its report?
I don't recall.
Yes, don't answer that. And let me tell you.
You don't recall does that?
She said she did not recall. And to try to, everybody's a crook in your mind. Jack Smith.
Well, there were some crooks.
Well, I know, but
They were on the indictment.
So you reference your prosecutorial discretion and bringing these charges. I believe you say 50. You were talking kind of fast there. Was it 50 that you said?
I said that the grand jury recommended that 19 people be indicted. It's there. It's part of public record. What I did was look at all of the evidence against each of those persons, and I chose to only put forth an indictment that talked about the 19 most culpable. Those 19 were presented to a grand jury.
I just want to
That
clarify.
grand
You said 19
jury-
twice. I just want to clarify your testimony.
19 people were indicted.
Originally, how many were recommended? You said 19 for both.
39 were recommended. 19 were presented.
How many of the electors, there were 16 electors here in the Capitol that cast votes for President Trump, is that correct?
I object. They were not electors.
There were
You
16.
talking about the fake electors that y'all sat in a hearing and listened to, many of y'all?
In this same room.
I was not in the room. But I'm referencing there were 16 electors who took part in that meeting. Is that your understanding?
Why are you not offended that people came before you and lied?
Were there 16
I don't
electors?
remember.
Okay. How many did you indict?
What does this have to do with you developing legislation? Because this is not relevant. So I'm going to object relevance.
What
Where are we going?
is
I
wrong
thought
with
this was
her?
supposed to be
I thought y'all needed some help.
It was supposed to be about rules of conduct. And so now you're getting into where the electors met here and they weren't really electors. And how many of them got indicted and why did you do that?
We're here for far more.
Wait just a minute.
We're here for far more than rules of conduct.
On why she chose to do so. It was presented to two grand juries. They returned an indictment on one because the investigative grand jury cannot.
If she
indict
is, she got a
no
fool for a
individual.
client, Rachel.
And so, how's this to do with the conduct and legislation? I'm amazed that everybody's fixated that.
If you guys would like to support my channel and my work that I do here and to see me a whole lot more, baby, down at the bottom, there is a little ticker tape and it's telling you to donate to the Lockhart Perspective. Or you can go inside of the description, or you can go to the About page and you can buy me a coffee. And that'll be there. I love coffee. I'm just talking about me now. I mean, hey, this nut's going on. I may as well chime in a little. You guys want to support the channel, you can do that by giving a super chat as well. You can go to Lockhart Perspective at Cash App, and you can buy me a coffee at the link that's afforded to you in the About page. Let's finish listening to Looney Tunes, shall we? Okay, party.
Election was fixed 5 years ago.
We'll come back to this. We'll move on for a second.
Let's move on for a good bit, maybe a half hour.
Well, we'll see what you think of this next line of questioning, Governor. In January of 2021, you referenced his name earlier, but you hired Jeff DeSantis to be the deputy district attorney overseeing the media relations unit of the district attorney's office. Is that correct?
And strategy.
Media relations and strategy. Can you describe the difference between those two separate roles, or are you just saying that's the title?
That's the title.
It's the title. Okay. Was he serving in your office in April of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. He's classified those in ADA for personnel purposes.
He is a lawyer.
Yes,
he went
he
to
works.
Emory Law School. Was there 2 years ahead of me and graduated. He's my elder.
That's not hard for me.
When you're referencing media relations, how would you describe the overall role of media relations?
This has nothing. I don't read about media relations in any of these resolutions. It's beyond the scope.
This is within the scope of the state's funding to that department.
Not
To
a
that.
question about who's the director of media relations.
I didn't ask who. I'm asking what the role of media relations is.
Neither is that. Don't answer. I instruct you not to answer. Completely irrelevant.
Your objection is relevance.
No, my objection is the reason she hired and the reason that she has hires and fires employees and the reason that she undertakes to run her office is a matter of employees, which is accepted and is privileged and is a deliberative process.
So you are asserting that the role of a media relations director is privileged.
You can move on.
You want clarity on that, counselor?
So you're instructing the witness
I'm
not
gonna-
to answer on the ground of
I'm
relevance?
instructing.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to understand what the objection
I stated my
is.
objection. Where's the court report? Here's the court report.
It would help if, Governor, respectfully, it would help if the objections could be limited to like 5 to 10 seconds. I mean, I don't need a speaking objection.
I talk slow.
I'll give you 30 seconds, but it's counted by words, Governor.
I'm a country lawyer, and it's real hard for me to get things done. It is beyond the scope of the resolution, number
Okay.
one.
All right, can we break and address that?
I'm gonna say my objection. I mean, I'm not here.
That's fine. We'll do it all together.
I'm not here.
I'm just trying to understand.
I'm not here.
I'm not trying to debate,
I
Governor.
think he's just looking for clarity on your objection, Governor.
Well, it's beyond the scope.
Okay.
Irrelevant. And the decisions she makes on personnel are not subject to inquiry.
All right, on the beyond the scope, I'm sorry. Oh, I can do that, I guess. Is that me?
It's on.
That's on?
Yep.
Okay.
Can you hear him?
I know I'm not going to convince you, but I just want to give you the chance. I certainly know I'm not going to convince you, Madam
No,
DA.
you're not interested.
Whereas this is lines 26 to 30 of Senate Resolution 5. Whereas many have concluded that the conduct of District Attorney Willis has brought her and her office into disrepute.
My office has brought myself into respect.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Wait just a
I'm, s-
minute. And so that is,
I'm not done, Governor.
okay, go ahead.
Undermine public confidence in the fair, impartial, and
The public voted me again by 68% respect.
Madam DA, I don't think that it's, well, you continued. I mean, I've got my second fundraiser email from you while we're sitting here.
Did you donate?
Impartial. I did early on when you ran against Paul Howard, and you know that.
You selected the best DA in the country.
I'm just here as a lawyer, man. Fair and impartial, disinterested administration of justice by prosecutors across our state and cast significant doubt as to the purpose and validity of the charges of her office has brought in regard to the 2020 presidential election. Further, when you get to the language, the actionable language under powers and duties of the committee is hereby reauthorized to undertake legislative investigation into the issues mentioned above or related thereto. So I would submit it's broad. I presume that doesn't change your position, but I just,
It does not.
okay. You say that it is irrelevant. You mentioned at the start of this that you were going to be able to object to privilege. Is it your position that relevance is a privilege that you're asserting?
It's more than just privilege. It is also that it's beyond the scope. And what you've read me there is just confirmed that it's beyond the scope.
Or related thereto when it speaks
Or
to,
related thereto refers to the 2020 election.
correct. And both you and Madam DA have said that her decision to bring the case and how it was brought and who was brought against, the exact things the Court of Appeals talked about, those initial pretrial decisions,
Correct.
caused people to question and the fairness and of justice. And so if that is what the courts have said, not me, I'm not here to say one way or the other, but if that's what the courts have said, and that is in the language of the Senate resolution, your position is that it is limited to what?
It certainly does not encompass who the press secretary is in the DA's.
Okay, but the question that was on the floor was, what is the role
Or
of a
what
media
his-
relations
what
person?
his role would be. How does that got anything to do?
I think the question was, and if you need, I'm sure it could be asked this way, is what is the role of the person? And so to that question, which does not include any individual, but what is the role of the office? The objection is scope and privilege, or scope and relevance.
Correct.
And
And also personality.
And since you mentioned fundraising, I'd like to make sure that this is part of the record. Counselor believing he's going to go after Fani Willis and asking to donate at the last period. I also have 50 of these for the press because this is about folks sitting here trying to get elected.
Do we have anything else?
We do have a lot more, Governor. We'll take a lunch break just so you all are aware if you want to make arrangements at 12:30.
I'd like to go straight through.
We'll take a lunch break at 12:30. Madam DA, relative to your full-time employed staff, such as Mr. DeSantis, what rules, if any, exist relative to other work that they can do, either contract work or employment work outside of your office?
If it's an investigator and they're working a job, off-duty job, extra job, as most police officers do, the chief of investigations has to sign off on approving them for that work site, as well as the district attorney. So that is to the law enforcement that report to me, because, you know, I have a police department there, and so they have to get it signed off on that it's appropriate work. I don't like my investigators working at nightclubs, but they can certainly work at a store, or they like to work at State Farm Arena and things of that nature. If it's a professional that's not an investigator and not a lawyer, they're pretty much able to do whatever. Of course, they can't do it on my hours, but they can work whatever. And if it's a lawyer, prosecutors are not able to practice law doing that. If, you know, they were selling pies at Christmas, I probably don't care.
Somewhere in between practicing law and selling pies, are there any restrictions besides that?
None that come to mind.
Okay. Are you aware of an entity called Critical Mention?
I am. I'm aware that you all use it.
You're a nightmare
What
on
can you tell
Elm
me about
Street. That's
Critical
what you
Mention?
are.
Critical Mention kind of tells you when your office or an issue that concerns your community comes into the new space. It has been used as a device by my office to find witnesses. It's been used as a device to determine if there's a pressing issue among my constituents that they are concerned about. But it is basically an outlet that lets you know what's going on in your community. It's helped us find witness victims, and like I said, been used for security.
Help me understand how it helps you find victims or find out what's happening in the community. What's the...
You would be surprised, because people will complain about some issue. You won't know anything about it. Somebody got robbed. It brings cases to your attention. Because, you know, I'm not a small prosecutor's office. I'm a huge prosecutor's office. And so it brings things to your attention. I can't give you more than that.
Are you aware of any other uses that your office uses Critical Mention for?
I don't know all the uses. I gave you some.
Okay. You sent a letter to Governor Kemp, Secretary of State Raffensperger, and Attorney General Carr. I believe it was essentially a records retention notice in early 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I didn't want anyone destroying evidence. Not that they would do so intentionally, but I didn't want them to do it unintentionally.
So on the screen is a report from Critical Mention that we referenced earlier. This report was in an email from Mr. DeSantis to you and someone who worked for you at the time. And this came the week after the time that the letter was sent. And the letter I just referenced to the governor, the AG, and the secretary. Mr. DeSantis's email states that the analytics graph is attached as PDF. The previous one I sent was for, quote, Fulton County District Attorney. This one is for, quote, Fani Willis. We're getting more coverage via your name than by title. This graph has the coverage value for the last week at over $150 million. That's obviously high, but even adjusting downward, it's still a huge number. And then what's highlighted in red here is part of the Critical Mention report that mentions, which I'm going to just assume how often the search, which I think that he said this one is for your first and last name, what the audience was, which was approximately 6.3 million people, and then publicity value, which I think is what Mr. DeSantis is referencing when he references coverage value at $150 million. Do you recall seeing this report?
I don't.
Do you recall Critical Mention being used at all within your office to track the value of media as it related to the coverage of the election interference case?
I told you she doesn't.
She told me she doesn't recognize this chart. I'm asking generally if she...
I've seen the report.
This
I don't
report, I'm
know.
asking if you've seen any report.
I don't know that I've seen any report, but I've definitely heard Mr. DeSantis say, that these numbers are always inflated. So yes, I've heard of it before, but you're asking me about a particular report.
Have you seen this page from a PowerPoint document before?
I've seen it. I don't recall it.
Okay, this was also sent by Mr. DeSantis to your email. And here this captures a broader range of time. The first one, I believe, was for just a couple of weeks. This captures essentially the first 11 months of 2021, at which point in time those audience impressions have grown from the previous number of 6 million, if I recall correctly. The publicity value on the last one that we looked at was 150 million. This one is $637 million. Do you recall seeing any other report that was tracking the publicity value of your name, your work, or your prosecutions?
I can never recall seeing a report. Does not mean I have not seen one. I do not recall seeing a report. But so that we're clear, I've heard Mr. DeSantis mention things that are along what you're talking about.
This is an email from Mr. DeSantis, dated around the same time frame as the first report, February 17th, and he's referencing now just the first search that he did, which was for Fulton County District Attorney. He lays out that name received $67 million, which he already said was more than your name. And he concludes his email by stating that even half of that value would be staggering.
Right. He doesn't believe the numbers. He thinks they're inflated. And that's kind of what I reference him
Sure.
talking, that he doesn't believe the numbers.
But he does believe that the value, what value means, that we would all need to interpret there, but that even at half of the value, he believes that would be staggering.
You're asking me to speak on,
No, I'm just stating what I'm reading in the context here.
how does this help?
Well, now I'm going to ask you, as a public prosecutor,
Mhm.
why would media coverage and the earned media value, either for your title or your name, be relevant to your job as a prosecutor?
You'll have to ask somebody else, because I don't know the answer to what someone else is thinking. I do know that it has been very important to me, and it continues to be very important to me, that we are very transparent with our public about what we're doing, and that the media, when they're doing their job, it is important that they tell the public what the work is that we're doing, and that they tell them what the services are that we provide them, and that we are always here for them. So that is an important value. The first time, I don't want my constituency to see me, and this is something I say all the time, first time they get to know the Fulton County District Attorney shouldn't be when I'm locking up their nephew. That's not when it should happen. The first time they should see us is when we are out in the community doing service projects, whether that is I am in the schools. I am the only district attorney in the country that all year long I am in the schools with our children, making sure that we see them in the classrooms and not the courtroom. So that is me touching my students and their parents. The first time they see me is when I'm giving away book bags. The first time they see me is when we're doing Christmas drives or Thanksgiving drives. The first time they see us is so that they know that they are coming to an office that is a judgment-free zone. And I think it's why, and I have this for the media too, I have a 92% conviction rate this year. I tried more cases than any prosecutor in the state. That's the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District. That's the AG's office. My office is doing this work. We are keeping the community safe. Because I know y'all won't believe me. I brought a report here from the Atlanta Police Foundation talking about how crime is down in our community. And it's not the district attorney's office alone. It is the district attorney's office combined with the law enforcement in this community. See, I care about the police. So I don't excuse that an officer got killed on January the 6th. To me, it's a problem.
The question was, as a public prosecutor, why would media coverage be relevant to your role? And
I answered it.
I don't know that you did, and I want to clarify, because I think what you answered was why public relations are important to your role, and people seeing you before they get locked up and all of that stuff you referenced, which I think is valid. My question is, there are multiple emails that are tracking in concurrency with your work in the election interference case.
With my concurrency in work, period. That's the work that you think is important. I've answered the question. It's asked and answered. We should move on.
The question that I'm asking you is not, why are you doing public relations? I'm asking you, why are you tracking the dollar value of your name and your title
She has told you she does not know the report. She has told you that she has heard it discussed, but she does not know the details. She has told you that it's important to get a message out. And if that's not been asked and answered, I don't know what it is.
Governor, I certainly understand that. I'm not asking about the outbound messaging. I'm asking about the inbound tracking of the dollar value. If you believe that we've covered that, we'll move on. This is the first payment for critical mention. That's a yearly subscription of $10,000. You told me earlier you've never seen a payment voucher form from Fulton County, so I would assume you've never seen what's on the bottom right. Is that correct?
I don't think we should assume, but you'd actually be correct.
Okay. I'm assuming that your testimony was correct earlier, and I'm tying it together to right now. The second time that critical mention was used, and we talked earlier about funds and accounts. This check was used to pay critical mention for their 2022 contract. Have you seen this check before?
Have I seen the check?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Okay. What account is this from?
It was a Fulton County account. One of the accounts Paul left. So I can't answer you what account it's from. Whatever bank that's from, that's the account it's from.
Just to clarify, you're saying Paul, you're referencing former District Attorney Howard?
Yes, and you were absolutely correct. Former district attorney, I believe it's from one of those accounts. But that's actually speculation too, but I assume that's what it's from.
Do you know how your name got on an account that was formerly used by District Attorney Howard?
Absolutely. At the beginning of my tenure, I had to go and switch names from that DA to this DA.
And part of that changing of names was changing this bank account.
Correct.
Okay. What is the source of funds for this bank account? I know when we talked earlier, you referenced essentially you give everything over to the county. You don't have your own debt credit card. You don't have your own accounts. I want to clarify what this account is.
It was accounts that Paul left. There were a couple of them. At the beginning of my term, we put our name on those accounts. Me and District Attorney Howard did not have a conversation. He went to the bank, then I went to the bank, and we used it for things for the office. We've been audited 50 million times, so it's in some audit. There's no DA that's been audited as much as me.
Do you know how much money was in that account when you?
I can't recall any of those facts.
Do you know if you've allocated any additional funds in the time that you've been DA into this account?
I do not believe so. Brings me to an interesting point. We did not want to take in money, and I also wanted to have an office that was transparent. And so in my first 4 years, the only way that a district attorney would take in money would be from open records. Well, I had this great idea as the new DA. I wanted the records of Fulton County DA's office to be equally accessible to the indigent and the rich. Many people abused that. And so I had to change it in term 2. I mention this because I didn't take any money during the first time for open records. And so there's no other reason that a DA would take money in that I can think of. If there is one, I'll have to be educated on it.
As it relates to this, well, let me ask this question. You referenced there was 2 or 3 other accounts?
There was a couple of accounts. We've been auditing all my audits. You know, once y'all started attacking me, they audited me every other week. There is no DA. I just passed a DOJ audit.
Do you recognize the signature on this check?
It looks like DB, Dexter Bond.
Dexter Bond, just for clarity, is your
Deputy of Operations. That's why he would
Operations.
see these kind of things and I would not.
Do you know what the allowed or the restrictions around the allowed uses of this account, of which you?
All money that we have has to be used for the betterment of my office.
And the only source of funds that you're aware of in this account, or it was money that was in the account when you signed it over from former district attorney?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you aware of anything else that has been paid for out of this
No.
account?
Let's make sure you understand me clearly so I don't. I'm sure other things have been paid for out of this. Your question was, am I aware of other things that have been paid for? I can't recall that from 2021 or 22 or any other year.
What's the reason that this account will be used versus the voucher system with the county that I've had up on the screen a couple of times so far this morning?
That would make us,
I go to them if this is what I need done for the office. I don't make selections on what account is used. I don't even know what all those accounts are. I can't tell you that this account is the account that you can buy books out of. This is the account that you can do this out of. But I know they have those kind of delineations with the county. But I don't get. But you're in the weeds.
And it's your understanding that this account would have been something you referenced in audit. The state Senate's never done an audit.
Oh, I've been audited a million. The county has audited me. The federal government. I have been audited and audited and audited.
And is it your understanding that this account would have been captured in an audit?
Absolutely.
Okay. I was asking you earlier about essentially what I'm just going to colloquially refer to as side work that is done by full-time staff within your office. And I believe that you told me essentially you're not micromanaging. There's no prohibition on side work. Is that correct?
Well, I told you specifically with my investigators, there is an absolute process. They cannot work as investigators or police officers because that is what they are. I think some people don't understand that in a district attorney's office, the investigators are sworn law enforcement officers with very great careers. It's something that a lot of them come to do after they've been police for many years. And we do have a sign-off process because I don't want my investigators to work at nightclubs. I know they pay a lot per hour, but I would prefer them not to do that kind of work, although I do allow them to do extra jobs.
Most recently, as it relates to I will call it the larger story of the case recently, that was a ruling relative to an appearance of impropriety on this case.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the appearance of impropriety that resulted in your disqualification from the case. Prior to that, your office was investigating the now Lieutenant Governor, was not Lieutenant Governor at the time, Burt Jones. Is that correct?
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand the question.
Has your office ever conducted an investigation into then Senator or Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones as it relates to the election?
How does that help you with legislation?
Wait just a minute. Let me do my job.
Yes, sir.
Don't answer it as part of the deliberative process and returning it, and not investigating, returning it.
Is it not a matter of public record, Governor?
But then why are you asking?
I'm laying a foundation as you would call it.
Well, why don't you skip along to the question?
We're getting there. You're objecting to the
Deliberative process.
it's deliberative as to whether or not Lieutenant Governor Jones is part of an investigation.
It is deliberative because we know it was part of investigation, and he was indicted by two, or recommended by one and by a second one. But the reason he was indicted.
I'm not asking for the reason he was indicted. So I believe that we can agree on the grounds that Lieutenant. The question is the degree to which Madam DA was aware that Jeff DeSantis, while he was serving in the office, was the registered agent for a business named Charlie Bailey for Georgia.
Okay.
What's your question?
My question is, are you aware that while he was employed by your office, Mr. DeSantis was serving as a registered agent and secretary of an entity called Charlie Bailey for Georgia?
I don't think I knew that until now. But Charlie Bailey, who's now head of the Democratic Party, I consider a great personal friend.
I heard that he was maybe in the Capitol today. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet.
He's a former DA, former assistant DA. Prosecutorial criminals.
Are you aware of any work that Mr. DeSantis did on Mr. Bailey's campaign
Nope.
when he ran for lieutenant governor or for, I believe this was for attorney general?
I'm not aware.
Are you aware of general campaign work that Mr. DeSantis is involved in?
I don't know. Am I aware that he's ever been involved in campaigns?
And while he's been working for your office, I'll clarify that.
No, I'm not sure that I do know that he's working for campaigns while employed for the office, but I certainly know that in a prior life that he did work on campaigns. He's like, as we get older, we tell war stories.
Let me ask you, what was the date on that can't see.
Well, it varies, Governor.
It says 2/1/2018, which would have been long before I was there, but then it says last annual registration year 2022. So I'm not sure at what point Mr. DeSantis did this. I'm not sure it tells what it purports to tell, but it's on the screen.
Well, he's a registered agent. Anybody can be a registered agent. Not be
well, the secretary as well is what I was asking about, which is the role of an officer. The officer information is noted there at the bottom. Did you say you were a supporter of Mr. Bailey when you ran for attorney general?
I said that Mr. Bailey was a friend. I think that was a cute little question you asked. But what I said was that he was a good friend. He used to be an assistant district attorney that reported to me when he was a younger lawyer. I was his supervisor. If you know Attorney Bailey, he's a white male, probably around 40 years old now. And I just adore him and his family.
So you don't recall if you supported him for attorney general?
I would support Mr. Bailey in anything he does. He has great integrity. Anything he wants to do, I'm here to support him.
So you did support him when he ran for attorney general?
She didn't.
I'm trying to get to the core of the question here.
And tell me how we investigate now because of this. If that's not beyond the scope,
We know that Mr. Bailey there was a finding of conflict in this case, specifically relative to Mr. Bailey. I'm sure that part of that may have been to the campaign contributions that were made on behalf of the DA to Mr. Bailey, which is now on the screen. There was a fundraiser, I believe, that was the acute conflict that the judge recognized, and so that's what we're getting into. This is directly applicable to this case.
I don't find it relevant, but he's a friend, and I gave him some money when he was running.
And you don't count. Whether or not you
I'm
find
asking
it
if you could give
relevant,
Tanya Miller
doesn't
for Georgia
count.
some money so we can get a good attorney general in here. Not a corrupt one that puts false things on screens.
So Mr. Jones was a candidate for lieutenant governor. Is that correct?
It should be noted at the time of that ruling, which I still find to be ridiculous. Mr. Bailey was not running against Mr. Jones. He was running against Kwanzaa, and I can't remember his name. It was a Democratic race. But the ruling was found. I take exception with many of that judge's actions. But, I'll leave that for another day.
At the time of the fundraiser that you did, it was in a primary, and you knew that whoever
That's a great point. It was a primary. It was not a general. He was not running against Burt Jones. That was a fabrication of facts. He was running against Kwanzaa Hall. His name just came to me. You get older and you forget things, but he was running against Kwanzaa Hall, and I did a fundraiser for him. That is absolutely correct. And he need to give me some money back, $2,500.
Mr. Jones moved to have you disqualified from the investigation based on your fundraiser. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's something else that I'd like y'all to take up as a legislative body. I think that when judges rule on things that are directly in the favor of legislatures, we should have a bar of when they can be appointed to the next bench, because I'm watching a lot of judges in my career do things in an effort to kind of say, pick me, get promoted. And I think that it would be some good legislation of this body and of the legislature to say that if a judge directly rules on something in the favor of any legislature, it should bar them from being promoted. That'd be some legislation, since y'all want some help with legislation.
And Judge McBurney granted the motion to Mr. Jones to have you disqualified. Is that correct?
Correct. And then surprise, Scandalakis has dismissed the case.
We're going to get to Scandalakis in just a second, but Judge McBurney said that it was, quote, a plain and actual and untenable conflict. Is that correct?
He did.
Okay. He described it, I believe, in oral commentary, and stated that he regarded the optics were horrific, described it as a what were you thinking moment.
The left circuit described McBurney as unethical. We're going to talk about, people pontificating. Is that what we're doing?
All right, so let's just read what's on the screen because it's apparent that she doesn't want anybody to know it. I'm going to read what is not covered by the banner below. So this is the State of Georgia Campaign Contribution Disclosure Report, identifying and contact information. It came from Fani Willis. It has her mailing address, her current phone number, her current email address, which is so uncool for them to even put that on the screen, because it does allow for, I don't know, doxing. But in any case, I digress. If a candidate or a public official is there, a campaign committee, let's see. I got to take this call, but go ahead. You guys finish.
In here.
I'm just
Yikes.
we're going through the
Just
fact
telling you some
pattern
history.
of this case. And then, as you referenced, Mr. Peter Skandalakis, as head of PAC, continued the investigation after you were disqualified. He concluded the investigation did not further warrant further action after interviewing Mr. Jones 4 times and reading your entire file, among other things. Did you give your entire file?
Mr. Skandalakis has never read our entire file. When he just dismissed his case, there's no way that he read the entire file. There's no way that he reviewed all the evidence. It's no way that he interviewed witnesses. But as counsel set up, shitting and grinning in front of the media, saying, "Oh, we know this case gonna be dismissed." I bet you do.
Are you familiar with a company called Canal Media Partners?
It's my fundraiser. I think that's the name of my fundraisers. No. Canal Media Partners is who I pay to do filming or something. It's somebody I pay.
On the screen, we've got your 2024 summary from the State Ethics Commission page, and Canal Media Partners is listed as the second highest paid expenditure of your successful DA campaign.
They do great commercials. Use them.
To the tune of $527,000. Is my understanding from looking at their website that they do media buying, among other things.
That's why I won by 87%.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Chris Hutman who
Is brilliant.
does work for you. So you're familiar with Mr. Hutman.
He is brilliant.
What does Mr. Hutman do?
He buys media space. And if you're an elected official listening, you might want to hire him, because he is able to go and find you the best rate so that you can get the best media. So really the best bang for their buck. Don't mean this to be a commercial, but I mean, I did win by 87%. You might want to work with him.
His LinkedIn shows present work with or employment at. It doesn't clarify either, but it shows that he's been at Canal, which we've talked about, for the last 13 years. And in a company called 2020 Insight LLC for the last 15 years. Are you familiar with a company called 2020 Insight?
It sounds familiar, but no. I might have paid him. I just don't remember.
According to 2020 Insight's current website, it is a partnership between, well, they don't say partnership here, but the state's under their Who Are We? It lists Mr. Jeff DeSantis and Chris Hutman, Mr. DeSantis being the same one that serves in your office, and Mr. Hutman being the gentleman that we just talked about that you referenced.
I don't know that he currently still works with him, but we could have got to that question 3 questions ago. I know at one point they worked with each other.
The website for saying that Mr. DeSantis is there is current, but it's your testimony today that you don't know whether he does work with 2020 Insight before.
I don't know that he actually continues to work with them, but I certainly know that in the past that he worked with him.
Is it your understanding that Mr. DeSantis and Mr. Hutman were business partners?
I really don't know what their professional relationship was, so I don't want to speculate. I will tell you this: the governor talked about old men having to go to the bathroom. 54-year-old women do as well, so we don't have to get me to a bathroom break.
We'll take 5.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, that does it for us, because that did it for her. And I want you guys to leave down below in the comments for me what you think about this, what you think about her demeanor, what you think about her behavior. Do you think that she made a point to show how ignorant she can be? Do you think that this whole thing is just going to blow over like I think she thinks it's going to? It's not. But I want to know what you guys think. So thank you all for hanging out with me for the last hour or so here or more. And she is very disrespectful. As one of our mods says, she's very disrespectful. Rachel, I have to tell you, I wholeheartedly agree. Lost in the weeds again, just par for the course. Absolutely, Anthony Vargas, 4908. You're absolutely right. She's disrespectful as per. I don't see her changing. And I do not see, here's the thing. The people who helped her get where she is, those people have let her hang to dry. That's the only reason why she has former Governor Barnes with her. Because if you remember in the very beginning, he was standoffish and said, no, I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z. But a lot of people have pulled their support from her because, as usual, they've allowed her and the other women that were after Trump during the time that she was after Trump, they're all hanging out to dry. Mortgage issues, lying on applications, all of these things that they already knew. Right? They already knew these things about these folks. More than likely, they were using some of those things as leverage to make them, to do the whole Papa Geppetto and to make them be accountable to them. Right? So now you're out there, honey, and you're the one that's going to pay for this. She's surely going to smart for all the crap that she's doing. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out with us for the last 2 hours and 27 minutes, baby. And I want to thank some folks that sent me the information about Rob Reiner and his wife. That's a bit of a hairy topic I do want to talk about, but I think there's so much more to that and so much more meat on the bone there that I didn't just jump at it, but I did look and I sort of side-eyed it. But a lot in his past, a lot of stuff going on in that case. And it's really sad to see that it's being displayed this way. And who knows who really done it. I know what they say who done it, but who knows who really done it. Anyway, y'all. Love you. Appreciate you. Good to see each and every one of you. Make sure that you guys don't forget to support the channel. You can go to Lockhart Perspective right there at Cash App, or you can leave a super chat, or you can leave a post chat at the comment section if you are watching this in the replay. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the commentary because I sure enjoyed bringing it to you. All have a great rest of your day. And remember what I always say, take care of yourself first, because if you don't, ain't nobody going to do it. And if you take care of yourself first, then you can take care of somebody else. Whew, saying that and living it is two different things, but you guys know what it's all about. Love all of you. Peace.